There it is.
Oh,
It only took
yeah.
30 attempts on the accept, but we are here. Let's get this quick introduction for anyone that might not know. We have the brother Peter Dragon in the room, competitor, champion, owner of Bar Sharkz, media star on the rise, fitness content creator, influencer, man of the community, a teacher, and a brother to many. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Rise of the Lost, Peter Dragon. How
Happy to be here,
we
bro.
feeling today?
It's been a minute.
Yes, sir.
It's been a
Yes,
minute.
sir. It's been, I think, when the last time I saw you, 2021 or was it 2022?
I think it was 2022. Holy shit. It's been that long.
2022. Yeah, man. We are on the precipice of great things and change indeed, indeed, indeed. How are you feeling this evening?
Doing good. Just recovering from a little hamstring injury that I've been working around.
Oh,
Living off of
baby.
Advil. Not exactly a big fan of taking Advil and Tylenol, but it's the only thing that keeps me going at the moment. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
taking
Yes,
it day by
sir. But
day.
you're still in motion. You're still training.
Yeah, I'm training upper body, super hardcore, more than normal. I'm not training my lower body. However, if I do get certain opportunities that arise, I'll kind of abuse the Advil a little bit to allow me to do that.
For
Like I
sure.
got a stunt gig a couple weeks ago. I needed the money. It was a decent amount of money they were paying me. And I can't do anything without Advil, but I'll pop 3 Advils. It'll feel like I have no pain whatsoever. I go perform, do what I need to do, and I don't feel anything during the shoot. 4 hours later, when I get home,
Yes.
can't walk, but it's a.
I'm
I think
glad
it's
to
a
see you're
sciatic
still in
nerve
motion.
problem.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a sciatic nerve problem than an actual muscular issue.
Mm,
So that's why I
mm.
don't have that much qualms with actually pushing myself because I know I'm not like doing actually muscular damage to myself.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
but it's a process. Healing. I'm 2 months into healing. But like I said, I'm
Yeah.
taking it easy and only doing it if the money and opportunity arise.
As you should.
Then I'll make the sacrifice.
As you should, brother. As you should. You are truly a warrior when it comes to this fitness game, man. So I always want to jump right into it. I know that you've been in the fitness industry now and doing fitness for close to a decade or a decade already.
More more than that. It depends what you if you just consider like overall regular fitness. More than a decade for like the calisthenics and the parkour and everything. That's probably a decade because I have
Okay.
the
Okay. So
martial arts
yes.
background. When my girlfriend died when I was 17, that got me into boxing, jiu-jitsu, and I did that for about 7 years
Yeah.
before getting into all this.
All right, so I just want to ask you the first question. I lined up a few just so we could really get some good content for the people, but really get more of your story out there because the first time we sat down, I thought you had not only a beautiful story, but the team you came with, it just really showed the support you have in the community, the support you have in real life, and more than anything, what you've accomplished as a leader, because that is truly a position and a title that one can't really give themselves, but the people will let the community and the leader know that has been bestowed upon them. So my first question was, what was the turning point that made you realize that fitness wasn't just a hobby, but a calling for you?
I would say the turning point for that. Um, Originally, it probably was around the lines of when I first got into boxing and everything like that. Because my first original goal was I wanted to be a pro fighter. I was just doing really good when it came to jujitsu. I was doing really good. Very, very rarely was I getting 10. This isn't to sound cocky or anything like that. Because I've also been tapped out by like 15-year-old girls that have been training since they were 3. But in the beginning, when I first started training, I wasn't tapping out very often. Most of the people that did tap me out were people that were like brown belts that have been doing it for years and years and years. But when it came to anybody that was purple belt and below me, I wasn't getting tapped out at all. I started with boxing first. I just had really good hands. I was feisty, especially because I got into boxing when my girlfriend died at the time. So I had that kind of I don't give a fuck what's happening in my life. I don't care if I get hurt because I had the motivation of my girlfriend's dead. So I had anger. I had the
Yeah.
anger that gave me the chip on the shoulder. And because I was doing so good with that, that's where my first opportunity arose to just, teach boxing because I was just a natural picking it up very easily, started teaching boxing. And as I packed on classes filled with kids and filled with young adults, when I'm being only 18, 19 years old right now, I was just like, oh, maybe I could do something fitness related. I originally didn't have any plans to get into parkour or anything like that. It was mainly just the boxing and jiu-jitsu MMA route that I started off with, and that was my path for like 6 or 7 years.
Hmm. I like that. I like that. Out of everything that you've done, martial arts wise, boxing wise, what is your preference? What do you think has given you some of the most profound experiences and or lessons?
I would say probably I like boxing more, significantly more than jiu-jitsu. But I would say that jujitsu humbled me because I got really caught up in how good my hands were. I would say Muay Thai with the kicks and jujitsu humbled me a lot because I got really good at boxing. Because in boxing, they're matching you up with people around your weight. Sure, some people might be a little bit taller than me. I'm only 5'7", but around the 5'11" range, even so, as long as they were close to my weight, I was able to get in close, uppercut jabs. But when it came to jujitsu, I was getting tossed around by people that were a lot lighter than me, that were smaller than me, and that wasn't something that I was used to. I was used to my hands being able to save me. Oh, as long as I'm quicker, as long as I have better reflexes, I'll be able to avoid getting hit and I'll be able to hit them. When it
Hmm.
came to jujitsu, I was getting manhandled in the beginning. Like literally manhandling. Granted, the people that were manhandling me, like I said, I was doing really good in jujitsu, but the people that were able to beat me, I weren't able to touch. Like I was doing really good against a lot of people, but the pros that were good, they were often just people way tinier than me,
Hmm.
and that humbled me because I was so cocky with the boxing, and I
Yeah.
thought boxing could just carry me the whole way through. Same thing with kickboxing and Muay Thai. I got so used to relying on my hands, and I was just like, oh, if my hands are good enough, I just got to block, avoid their kicks. But like, granted, kicks are hard to do if you're trying to do it for the first time, but if you have an expert kicker who's been doing Muay Thai for like 10, 15 years, their kicks aren't going to miss and they're going to hurt a
Very
lot.
true. Very true. I can concur with that with experience from being submitted and kicked around more times than I'd like to admit. Um, so I know you have been building up yourself in this community as a content creator and been building yourself up within the physical community. And you're still in Jersey, right?
Yes, sir.
Shout out Dirty Jersey, you already know the vibes. How do you balance the discipline of being an athlete with the creativity that's required as a content creator? Because I've seen some really dope content come out of your camp from not only you, but to those that are affiliated with you through the Bar Sharkz.
Um, I'd be lying if I told you there was any form of balance. There isn't. That's one thing that I used to struggle with in the past is trying to find balance. And after speaking to a couple close friends of mine who have had crazier life stories than I've ever endured from everything that I've endured, that have managed to achieve success to the point where, like, true success, where for the rest of their life now they can say that they don't have to worry about anything at all. Those people didn't have a balance and they kind of just gave themselves the option of, we could try to have find balance and only get a certain amount done, or you could be no balance whatsoever and do things regardless at all times, not really taking into regard about how you feel or anything like that. So that's kind of the mentality that I've pretty much brought upon myself, especially because right now there's people relying on me. Like I'm taking care of my story. My aunt is my only one family that I have left. She's dealing with a lot of injuries, a lot of heart problems. So I feel like my success is going to be the make or break on whether she lives or not. It's almost like I'm fighting against the clock, which is why you've seen the last 3 to 4 weeks this giant spurt of
For sure.
content that I've just been pushing with the talking videos on top of the athlete videos and the talking videos and the training videos and the freestyle videos
For
still.
sure.
Um, so it got to the point where I didn't know I stopped paying for my aunt's medication. She ended up in the hospital with a heart attack, and I didn't pay for her medication because I canceled her health insurance because her medication was around $700 without health insurance, and then with health insurance, it was pretty much only $100 cheaper. So I was just like, why am I paying for this health insurance? I canceled that, but I still stopped paying for her medication, and because of that, she ended up in the hospital. So it's like, fuck. if I don't pay for her medication, the pain's going to be too overwhelming and put her in the hospital. So it's like I have to find a way to accelerate me making income. So,
Mm.
granted, the content's not giving me that direct income right away. However, the first 2 weeks that I started putting out those talking videos, talking about my life story, a lot of more people have been resonating with me, and that's pulled in a lot of extra clients for me. I was at the point where it's like, fuck, I need to get her this medication. I also have to pay my own rent and my own shit.
Hmm.
And it was desperate because she was in pain in the hospital, not being able to get the medication. And it was like, fuck, I need to get this in a certain amount of time. Luckily for me, after that 2 weeks of posting videos, I managed to pull in enough extra clients, which was then able to allow me to pay for my aunt's medication. So now
Yeah.
that's kind of what inspired the giant content shift. And it was
Yeah.
things I was thinking about doing to begin with, but I was always lazy. I'm not that I'm a lazy person, but because I was always working on other things. But I told myself I had to wait for a better time because my workload was too heavy before I could start doing these talking videos. And then when my aunt's life was handing in the balance, it was kind of just like, all right, I don't have the privilege of waiting for a good time to when I'm comfortable to start. It's like I have to do this now, otherwise she's just gonna be in pain and potentially die of a heart attack.
Hmm.
It's it didn't life didn't give me a choice in that aspect of that regard. So I told myself, all right, I'm just not gonna sleep. Certain days I just don't sleep. Is it healthy? No, absolutely not. I can't lie to you and say, oh yeah, I'm balancing perfect health with perfect training. No. I would say a good portion of my life is probably very unhealthy. I'm getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep some nights. I'm drinking a lot of caffeine. I have about 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day, 3 espressos a day. Is it exactly? Is it the best thing for me? No, but my how I'm kind of playing it out in my mind is like I'm 34 right now. I figured I have at least a few more years, if not maybe 5 more years of abusing my health and the way I'm doing it now. I'm not talking about fitness wise, but like mental health wise and also physically with how I treat my body with lack of sleep. I'm not going to be able to do this that much like this when I'm older, when I'm late 40s, late 50s. Yeah, I might still be able to do flips and train, but mentally I won't be able to survive on sleep. My body will shut down, without any sleep.
For sure.
But I figured I might as well take advantage of this while I'm young to push the limits because I know I'm not going to be able to push the limits like this when I'm older. So if I can work really hard for the next 3 to 5 years, build something that's sustainable with my personal brand to the point where when all this new AI bullshit keeps coming out and the world's ruled by AI, that I have somewhat of a platform to stand on because of the fact that I went all in these last 5 years. That's how I'm looking at it.
I
And I think the
respect that.
people that try to build a personal brand 5 years from now, they're just going to be fucked in the long run because it's going to be too late. There's going to be the virtual influencers that are they're already
It's already
happening,
happened.
bro. People
Right.
are People are already making AI virtual influencers. Brands are working with them instead of real people. So the
Mm-hmm.
only thing we have left is that human connection
Human
of
connection.
like you and me talking right now, people resonating. Because
Yeah.
the AI is not going to be able to, oh, I overcame adversity. My family died. No, you're an AI robot. You don't have
Yeah.
no family to die. You don't lose loved ones or know what that's like. You're a fucking machine.
Yeah. Speaking of loss of loved ones, I know that's one of the only guarantees in life besides change and bills, it seems, but is death for all of us. We're going to experience and have to deal with it to some degree. Personal loss is something that I know, and it's something that you know. If you're willing to, can you go into a little bit more depth about the losses you've experienced and how those losses have shaped you mentally?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting off from the beginning with my first girlfriend passing away. She was a passenger. I blame myself for it a lot of the time too, just because she was supposed to be seeing me. I was a little brat and I wanted to see her, and she was going to see her grandma, which was in Manhattan. And she pretty much, because I was fighting and arguing with her, she convinced her, 'cause she drove at the time. I was younger. She was, I believe, 18. I was turning 17. I was a junior in high school, and she convinced her mom to leave her grandma's house so she could drive back to New Jersey, get her car, and then come pick me up. I was at Freehold Mall, and pretty much on the way home, a drunk driver ran a stop sign, hit her mom's car on the passenger side. She died on impact. Her mom ended up calling me shortly after. The mom was kind of resentful for me in the beginning because I was the one that like was harping on it for her to come go and see me and everything like that. But me and her mom eventually patched things up, and I ended up living with her mom for a little bit. But that one messed me up big time.
Yeah.
Because that was also my first friend growing up. I got bullied a lot as a kid, and she was the first person to actually really be a friend to me, and ended up being my first romantic relationship. We started dating when I was young as hell. Like I met her when I was 9, but we started dating when I was 12, and I was with her all the way till she passed. You know, and she also taught me a lot about relationships and life, even though like I was younger and I was still a kid. She kind of taught me how a guy should be in a romantic relationship. She was just smart. She had a very philosophical mom, very philosophical dad. Her mom was half Russian and half Japanese, and her dad was Italian. So that's where like all the anime and stuff culturally came in. So that was a big impact, and that messed me up. Her death messed me up for like all the way till I was
Yeah.
22, 23
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
And everything after that, like I started my business. That was good. Got into the parkour and free running and all that. Became an athlete. And then, you know, in 2020, that's when my mom died. Shortly after that, my dad died. I didn't have a good relationship with him, but it still impacted me in some way, kind of more or less in the way of like, even though we didn't have a good relationship, I didn't know whether I should miss him or not, or if I hated him, or if I missed the fact of having a real dad father figure that I never had, and that's what I missed, and I didn't really miss him himself,
Mm.
or if I was just upset about the fact that maybe when he got older, he would have apologized for how he was, and we maybe could have made amends. Because that's what happened with my mom before my mom passed. Me and her had a bad relationship, and my girlfriend died, and she was kind of just like, "Life sucks, get over it." And that's what caused me to move in with my dead girlfriend's mom. And I didn't talk to my mom for about 7, 8 years, maybe a little bit more. But when my mom got sick, she reached out to me and she apologized for being a bad mom. A lot of the part of my life, she apologized for the way she treated me a good portion of my childhood. But I also realized that my mom was going through the abuse and getting beat from her dad. So, you
Right.
know, like she was only being a parent in the best way possible that she knew how to be a parent.
Yeah.
So I guess when my dad died, it was kind of just like I wondered if my dad would end up apologizing to me too when he got older, in his older age, if that would change his views like my mom changed his views. And I think that's what made me miss him in that sense, not so much missing the relationship we had because we don't really have one. My grandma I was close with, and like I said, it was mom 5, 6, or 7 months later, dad. Actually, my mom, grandma passed right after my dad. So it was my mom, my dog, then my dad, then my grandma, and then my friend Natso, who passed away, all within the course of a year and a half, which was crazy,
Yeah.
literally crazy. And that left me with funeral debt.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah. That's a
fun.
massive amount of loss. That's a massive amount of loss. Now, not everyone experiences so fast and so close together in that time span. Now I know you have referenced not having that relationship with your father. I never had a relationship with my father since the age of 5. So I know that at a certain point it played a big role in a lot of the fuel as far as anger that I carried and how I conducted myself in life. Did you have or do you have you even acknowledged or observed the potential of the father wound being there? And
So
if it is there, have you addressed it?
I what you just said to me brings up a very interesting conversation that I had with one of my close friends the other day, which is pretty much goes with direct correlation to what you just said about your dad. So you said that unlike me, your father just wasn't there from 5 years old, right?
Hmm.
So one of my friends asked me a question the other day, and I didn't really know how I felt about it or how to answer or really what I thought about it. But my friend, for example, his parents pretty much abandoned him when he was young and just gave him up, and that was it. He was an accident. They wanted nothing to do with him. So he never met his mom, never met his dad, never met anybody in his family. He was straight into the orphanage as like a baby. He never got adopted. And that was pretty much his life. So he asked me, he was like, "What do you think is harder to deal with? Not having a family your whole entire life, or having a family that you love and having your family pass away, or having a family in general, but not a family that you got along with, and more or less trauma from that family that you didn't get along with? What would you say is the harder circumstance And I honestly, I didn't know because I feel like there's so many aspects in all three of those that, it's so different. Like, when one sense, if like you and me never had a mom or a dad, and we never knew any family, I'm sure a part of us might have a little bit of an easier time going through life than if we had a whole entire family that we had a good relationship with, and then we
Hmm.
watched them all die. And I'm sure that would also be very different than like a situation like mine, where I had a good relationship with people like my grandma and had a good relationship with my mom before she died, but didn't have a good relationship with her at all. And then I had my dad, who, yeah, he was around when I was a kid, but my dad made my life a living hell every single day when I woke up. It'd be good morning, fag. That's literally what I'd get from him every single day.
Hmm.
And we never had any emotional connection. So I always think about that now since my friend brought that up to me, because I think that's a really good question, because trauma can all be so different. It can really just all be so different. And I don't know how I would feel in either of those other perspectives.
But uh, so back to my original question about the father wound, because all of us as children at some point, so if you never had parents, that person has an active mother and father wound. And they addressed it, whether they realize it or not, because they will always consciously think of the what ifs and play the hypothetical game, which is why the question was posed to you by your friend the way it was, because all they can do is imagine the what ifs and then to some degree observe other people in their relationships and almost try to project themselves into it and say, what would I do if I was in? So he was attempting to get you to project yourself into that. But the reality is, we could never know what any of those other traumas feel like because it wasn't our lived experience. My father wound presented in the sense that I had pure rage at the concept and idea of him for not being there for my mother. So it wasn't until I became a father myself, went through certain situations with my mother, that I was able to gain another level of perspective and honestly let go of the rage that I had towards my father. Do you feel, so when I reference the father wound, do you feel that there's any emotion you may still carry or might have previously carried? Because you did reference that you used to wake up every day, he was making your life a living hell, calling you fags. I never dealt with that. So I can't, on a personal level, imagine how that might have impacted my day to day. I don't know what age that started for you or if you ever found resolution for that. So when I reference the father wound, that's kind of what I'm specifically uh, hinting at is have you addressed any of the pains that might have been caused by him, especially specifically if you didn't get the apology from him that you may have knew you needed, wanted, or deserved?
I think at one point I carried a lot of hatred for him a good majority of my life. Even when I would say, especially when he died too.
Mm.
I don't know if I still carry that now. Not to say that I necessarily forgive him for anything. Um, I think it's also the realization, kind of like what I said about my mom before, how I realized she was just doing the best she could based on how she was raised. Like, they're all going through life once. They haven't had multiple chances to experience fatherhood or motherhood and be a parent. And if you only know, we're a product of our environment and what we experience. So if somebody that's now has a kid hasn't had good experiences with their own parents raising them or teaching them good values or showing them how to raise a kid or what a good father figure or a good mother figure would look like, how can I really hold my own parents to a really high standard or regard when they never saw that themselves? The most they had to see them as is maybe movies. However, with that being said, at the same time, I would also like to hold my father a little bit more accountable because he did have a lot of close, good friends that had really good relationships with their kids. And I often watch my dad treat his friends' kids with more respect, gratitude, and got them gifts for holidays and their birthdays where I would get jack shit. So it's like, oh, you just bought this kid a brand new jacket for like $400. Not even your kid. That's your friend's kid. What did you get me? What did you get me? But you just bought this guy's kid a brand new jacket, but then you get your own son nothing? So it's just like, I see that he had the capabilities of showing affection to another human being
Yeah.
that wasn't romantic, that was literally just a kid.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
I will say that yes, we are a product of our own experiences. I will say that he knew better, even though he didn't get parented by a good father himself and has went through his own shit growing up. He still knew better because he was able to do it for other people's kids. He just
Correct.
wasn't able to do it for me. But like I said before in the past, my dad was a very big racist. He was a
Yeah.
very big racist growing up, and
Yeah.
that made me have to go through my whole little situation because I'm Italian, I'm part Puerto Rican, I'm part Chinese, I'm three different things. I'm a mixed, and my dad was only okay with Italians.
Even though he made you.
Yeah,
What you are, even though he made you. So that specifically, I won't stay on this
he's
subject, but for so
part Puerto
long.
Rican, bro.
Right, right, right.
So
So how did that how did that specifically impact you on a mental level? Because I didn't my mother didn't even admit that my father was Puerto Rican until I was in my 20s.
oh shit.
Literally, literally. So she had me believing I was just Trinidadian and you just regular. I'm like, first off, I see the mirror. There's something else going on here. How about you fill in the blanks for me? So I know what it is to kind of be separated away from certain aspects of self and certain aspects of your own culture. So has that impacted you? Do you currently deal with that? Are you connected with your other sides of you and other cultures that you are affiliated with based on your own lineage?
My mom definitely at one point tried to get me very in touch with my Puerto Rican culture. Definitely. I never really, and even excluding, like, even if my dad was never the way he was growing up, I would say I never really had an interest in the Puerto Rican side, but I also never had an interest in the Italian side either. I only had an interest in the Chinese side. So it's ironically enough, that's the thing I am the least because my mom is like 75% Puerto Rican and 25% Chinese because my mom's dad, his dad was half
Right.
Chinese. So that's where that came from.
Correct.
So my mom was only a little bit because her dad was half Puerto Rican, Puerto Rican. Her grandpa was half Chinese and half Puerto Rican. So obviously it diminishes as it goes through the generations. But that was it's my mom put a lot of Chinese culture around me growing up. So I think I was just naturally drawn to that side. I don't know what it was. It just I adapted to it. And like I said, once I met my first girlfriend who was Japanese, that just skyrocketed me into the Asian culture. But I never really tried to get into the Puerto Rican culture. I was around it, like my mom's side of the family. They were always big on like going to the bodegas and stuff. They would always speak Spanish. Both my mom and my aunt, who also raised me, was bilingual. They would go back and forth between speaking English and Spanish literally my whole entire life, but I never really gravitated to it. I just never found it appealing for me in any shape or
Yeah.
form. Nothing against it. I have friends that are Puerto Rican too that are really like Puerto Rican, ingrained in the culture. Like they
Right.
wear Puerto Rican jerseys and everything, Puerto Rico hats and all that. But like I don't know, just I never resonated with it, I guess.
Now, do you think that did that stem from your father? Like, were you trying to separate yourself from that because of your father?
I I would say eventually when he started really like harping on stuff like that, yeah, but I was already like that before his input because I would say I didn't start speaking to my dad in general till I was maybe like 10 years old. Like he would just insult me and go on his way, but we never got
Mm,
into like full conversations till I was like 10.
gotcha.
And then once I was 10, that's when he kind of started trying to put his negative ideals into my head. But up until that in the beginning, I would say it was just purely me where like I just never resonated with it.
Yeah.
The closest thing to being into Spanish culture was my mom putting on Spanish Dragon Ball Z when I was little, and I would watch Dragon Ball Z, be like Dragon Ball Zeta.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I was still pushing you more towards the Asian culture either
Yeah.
way. Either way. So I know Bar Sharkz is a community, it's a family that you built. As the community that Bar Sharkz is, and you built it around calisthenics, what values do you personally embed into that brand?
So probably probably three things. Honor, first off, um, loyalty, and courage. Those are
Mm.
probably the three things that mean the most to me. And I also got those tattooed in Chinese on my left arm. I got those at a very young age tattooed on me. Honor, because I feel like in this day and age, especially, like I thought this way back then, but especially now and today, I feel like a lot of people don't have any form of moral values or honor. And I'll stick with my honor, even if it specifically puts me in a negative situation that I'd rather not be in.
Mm.
It's just always, and I blame anime for that because it's not always the smartest decision, but it always just showed me like, having that loyalty to the people that are there for you. You made a post about this the other day and I loved it.
Mm.
But it was talking about loyalty, like, if you don't got something and I have it, you also have it. That resonated with me a lot because the friends that I have had that were loyal, the loyalty they've shown me throughout the years, even when so many people were against me, is something that I would never trade. And you can't buy that. Like you can
No.
buy a lot with money, but loyalty is something you can't buy because people will sell you out for a quick buck in a heartbeat nowadays.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. So if you know you have somebody that's going to defend your name when you're not there, that you could have 50 people talking crap about you, and and you could say with 100% certainty that even if 100 people are all talking smack, you know that that one person there is going to stick up for you against all 100 of those people, regardless of how bad it is, even if it puts them at a detriment. You can't give that up. That's not
Yeah.
something you can buy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't buy that.
Yeah.
That has to be created with connection and bonding with somebody. That's not
True.
something that you can just go and be like, all right, you have my loyalty. That's, created through experiences and conversations and actual emotional and connection.
Very true. Very, very, very true. What do you think that the mainstream fitness world is still getting wrong about strength training and or body weight movement? Because it's so popular now. Everyone's a fitness creator, content creator, even if they're not really into it like that. If people see a way to make money, they will. So what do you see them getting wrong in this industry?
I think a lot of the time people really try to overcomplicate a lot of things. And I feel like it's just a quick money grab. Like there's so many times that I've had clients come to me with the craziest ideologies that a past trainer or just somebody they knew like put in their head. Like I had one client come to me the other day and he was just talking about like not scheduling pull-ups more than 2 days back to back with like doing push exercises because that's going to limit your growth in certain ways. And I was just like, what are you saying? No. First of all, no. Like, as long as you're getting the proper recovery, you're eating good nutritional foods, and you're properly recovering, you could schedule your pull day back to back, like with a day in between with your push. Like, people try to add all these extra rules to everything. And at the end of the day, somebody could work out and do whatever they want every day. If they're not trying to make any specific progress with strength goals, and they're just trying to do it to feel good and just to lose some weight and just build some solid muscle, you could do pull-ups every day of your life if you really want to. You could wake up, bang out 5 sets of 20 pull-ups, or 10 and take a rest for 2 minutes, do another 10. Do that every day for your life. You're still going to make
Sure.
progress. Are you not going to have the most optimal progress? Sure, there could be better ways to optimize your training program to where you'll gain more muscle size and gain more strength quickly, but not everybody has those goals. The average person isn't trying to develop crazy skills like you and me, or isn't trying to get, 50, 60 pounds of muscle in, the next 2 years and look like a roided up bodybuilder. The average person doesn't have that goal.
Very
Even
true.
us, like, I don't have this goal to gain a whole bunch of muscle. Like I think I told you before, I have pretty good genetics for piling on muscle where I have to make sure I do extra cardio because I gain muscle too quickly. And
Mm.
I don't want to. Like I care about fashion and aesthetics. So if I go and pretty much put on too muscle, my clothes will fit weird. I won't like how I look. And that's another thing too. Like when it comes to like the fitness industry getting things wrong, they put all these like negative things into people, or like even like diet soda, for example. I saw one of my clients came and told me that if you drink more than 2 diet sodas every week, your chances of cancer increase by 50%. And it's just like, bro, that's not true at all. Like the chemicals in diet soda that are actually talked about as being cancer causing, those same things, like first of all, everything is a chemical. Every single thing is a chemical. Our body's a chemical. Red meat's a chemical. Eggs are a chemical. Like everything is a chemical. But when it comes to the stuff that they fearmonger in diet soda, those same chemicals that are in diet soda are in red meat. Those same chemicals that are in diet soda that they're fearmongering are in eggs and are in tomato juice. And you actually get more of those chemicals that are in the diet soda in red meat, in eggs, and in tomatoes. So are you going to say don't eat? If you're saying people are fear mongering saying don't drink diet soda because it's going to give you cancer, but then they're supporting something like the carnivore diet and lifestyle, you got to say you can't do that either. Because what you're fear mongering in the diet soda is even more prevalent in the red meat, in the eggs, and in the tomatoes. So you're saying no, no diet soda gives you cancer, but the same exact things that give it that you're saying gives it cancer that are in the diet soda, there's more of it in red meat and in eggs.
Now, as
So it's
far as
like,
Now, as far as that, because I personally have some experience in this realm because I work with people doing nutrition, diet plans, and all of that. I just study bioavailability, anatomy, physiology, biomechanics, all that good stuff. Uh, the process to make diet soda and the things that are in American diet soda compared to other countries is completely different
yes.
than other places. And we do have in this country the highest rate of death per capita based on poor diet, and the things that we put in are overly processed, which is why right now there's this big movement to kind of reshape and change the food industry, because it is an industry, and you are correct that there are some overlaps between what you'll find in one thing and another. But if you're actually eating clean red meat, there should not be, if you look at the list of what's on a diet soda, diet Pepsi, and a diet Coke, you should not see any of that in your steak. And if you do, you're getting your steak from the wrong place. Just from the knowledge that I have in that realm of nutrition and dieting. Because I stay away from a lot of processed stuff because I bury so many people based on their diets, from my little brother to my grandmother to my aunts
Yep.
to my uncles. So I don't fearmonger, because fearmongering is definitely a real thing that people do. But at the same time, I always like to remind people that if it's overly processed, you should just be cautious with how much of it you take in. Am I going to say don't drink a diet soda? No. Drink whatever you want to drink. If you want to drink a beer, drink a beer. If you want to go get a Jack and Coke, get a Jack and Coke. But there is at least some baseline knowledge that I hope at some point more of us start to gain when it comes to the overusage of, because I'd never be worried about the person drinking 2 diet sodas a week. I'm worried about the person that as soon as they wake up, they're drinking diet soda to the time that they go to sleep, and 7 days a week, all they're doing is drinking diet soda
You
versus water.
know,
That person, I would say, probably is going to have an increase of 50% more to get cancer. But I would never, that is fear mongering. So I do agree on that point, but I just wanted to point out that there shouldn't be too many things you see in diet soda in your food, or you're getting
you
it
see,
from the
that's
wrong
the
place.
fucked up thing part because I've had clients that literally will not touch a diet soda. Like before meeting me, they wouldn't touch a diet soda, but they'll drink 10 regular sodas a day because they
Mm,
said that it's better for them and it's not going to cause them cancer. Meanwhile,
uh,
the 10 regular sodas, each one has 50
50
grams of sugar,
grams of sugar,
which is
yeah.
making them obese. And with
Yeah.
obesity comes higher blood
Mhm.
pressure, more chances of cancer. So they're
High risk
saying
for heart
no diet
disease,
soda,
yeah,
but
diabetes.
drinking 10 regular ones, which is leading them towards cancer, what they're not eating the diet soda
Well,
for.
that's
So it's
going to lead
like,
them to diabetes, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, heart failure, and but cancer will probably be the last thing they get if they do get cancer. But you're correct; they are still impacting their health in the most grotesque and negative way, especially if you're taking in that much processed sugar on a day-to-day basis. You're definitely increasing your risk for diabetes and chasing death, as I like to put it. You're chasing death,
and
trying
the
to speed up
Beyond
the
Meat,
process.
bro, like,
Oh,
oh,
I
I
agree.
hate that stuff.
That's all garbage. If we go into that one, I don't believe in any of that process stuff to that degree, because they've already done enough studies to show that it's pure garbage. And Beyond Meat actually at this point has still, if I'm not mistaken, refused to give out their proprietary secret recipe. So we still don't even know what the hell we're eating when we get, not we, because I don't eat Beyond Meat. Never have and never
Nor do
will.
I.
But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous for some of our compatriots that are out there swearing by this fake food, but they don't want to eat the real food. So I'm with you on that. Now, I know you're a competitor because I've literally seen you compete. So I know you're not only a competitor, but you're a high level competitor. How has competition shaped your mindset outside of the gym, in business, relationships, or your personal growth?
So this is where I feel like my mentality could be a little toxic. But I will. I'm a firm believer in it doesn't matter what your past is, you're only as good as your last at bat. So if your last at bat was garbage, till you make that change, you're gonna remain garbage. And like if I would have lost my last competition I was in, right now in this conversation, I would be like, I'm garbage, but I plan on being better, and I'm gonna continue working towards being better. But I have no right to give myself my flowers when the last time I competed, I lost. Can I say, oh, yeah, I know it's an accomplishment that I even competed in general? Yeah, sure. Facing fears, competing in a whole front of a whole bunch of people. Sure, I'll give myself credit for that. But if I ended up losing and my performance was garbage and terrible, I'm not going to go and sit here and be like, oh, like I'm so good when I lost. People only at the end of the day, and whether it comes to business, making money, or anything, or even progress as an athlete, people only care about the results. So I can cookie cutter it all I want and, be like, oh, you're still amazing for showing up. But at the end of the day, showing up doesn't pay the bills. Showing up doesn't build your career.
True.
Succeeding that, builds your career. It's succeeding that, pays the
Very,
bills.
very true. Very true. So you don't believe in the participation trophy?
No, so it's funny you say this. So I've been forced. A lot of my kids know better with this, but we give like some places I used to be at certain past competitions, like kids competitions I used to go to and bring my kids to compete. A lot of the time, there were competition trophies that were given out to everybody.
Mhm.
And a couple of my kids, because they've kind of adopted my mentality, they were like, Pete, if everybody's getting the same trophy, then what's the purpose on getting first, second, or third place? Yeah, there's like the money and the prize money and everything, but if nobody's looking at the money and my trophy's the same as that person, where's the incentive to try? And I was like, there isn't one. There isn't one. How are you going to teach values on success and accomplishing things if the same people who succeed are getting the same reward as the people who didn't succeed?
Mhm.
And because of that mentality, I feel like it causes people to try less. It causes people to not put in effort because they're like, all right, regardless of how I do, I'm going to get the same prize as everybody else. So
Yeah.
why should I go harder? It's kind of like if we're talking about like a communist world, if everybody at this desk job is going to get $35 an hour, why would somebody willingly choose to go and do overtime if they're just not going to get any extra money? Why would somebody choose to do work outside of work if they're not going to get increased pay?
Mhm.
People do that because they'll still get extra pay for doing that extra
Mhm.
work. But if you're getting the same rate, like, why am I going to put in 30 extra hours of work for the same money as somebody who literally gets paid the same money that didn't do the extra 30 hours of work?
Yeah. Yeah. That's very, very true. So that to me leads into the grind that we're doing right now, and everyone's on their grind, and everyone is pushing towards their next point of success and their next level of success. What's something about the grind that people don't see on Instagram or on YouTube? Because everyone wants to show their highlights online, but not many people want to highlight and or talk about, as you kind of started off with, the long nights, the not going to sleep, the kind of having what we know to be quote unquote unhealthy habits that we wouldn't promote to our clients, but for us to be the leader and get the job done, we're going to be the ones doing a lot of the stuff that we're saying don't do, getting the 1 hour of sleep, not sleeping certain nights, staying up 2 days in a row and then crashing out because the work needed to be done. So what is something that, beyond that, people don't see, whether it be impact on relationships, impact on family, or just impact on your mental health in general?
I mean, I think for me, it's just the constant extreme highs and extreme lows. I feel like I've done a much better job recently in the last couple months of displaying a little bit more of that side and getting more personal on Instagram with the types of videos that I've been putting out. Um, but yeah, like they don't see like I have a mental breakdown every fucking day. Every every day. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I literally have a complete mental breakdown every single day, and it could happen out of nowhere. I could be, like just recently, I recently, my ex-girlfriend and me broke up. I was dating this girl for like 6 months, and we're done. She was a toxic girl. I'm not with her anymore. But since then, I've been hanging out with some other girls, and I was hanging out with this girl. We were making out. Things were going good. And mid makeout session, I just started envisioning my mom dying and me giving her CPR trying to get her back to life out of nowhere. And I just started reliving that moment of my mom dying and then waiting for the ambulance to show up. And I was just like, I need a second. I just walked to the kitchen of my apartment, cried a little bit, made some coffee, literally sat there just thinking to myself, like, why am I thinking about this right now? Let the tears go out, and I was just like, sorry about that. Went back to my thing, but like, I didn't plan for that to happen. It just
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
but, or I'll randomly think about, my friend dying, or anybody that I've lost. They'll just come. I would say I still never got over any of that. I've just got better at pushing it aside, and like, not like trying to numb it or not dealing with it. Like, I let myself feel when I need to feel. um, but it happens at any moment, and that's not something that I'm physically like or emotionally displaying in my videos all the time. I'm not just making a video saying, "Oh, yesterday I was hooking up with a girl and I had a mental breakdown mid makeout session and started thinking about my dead mom." You know, I'm not making that into a little script for an IG video.
Right.
So that's the part that people don't
They don't
see.
see.
Or when I'm going on a long drive, or I'm driving to a client throughout my day, and I like rainy weather. Rainy weather gives me comfort, but when it's a sunny day, I'll break down in tears while I'm driving to a client's house some days. Where I'll
Mm.
literally just be driving, I'll see the sun. That sunlight always makes me depressed. So I'll see sunlight and I'll instantly start thinking about my ex that passed away, or my mom dying, or my grandma dying, or one of my friends that died, and I'll literally feel those emotions, and then I'll start feeling jealousy towards my friends that have good relationships with their family that still have them alive,
Mm.
or friends that still have their romantic partner that they've been with for 8, 10 years and things are still going. Like, I'm very jealous. Like, I'm not jealous or envious when it comes to like stuff like money, because I'm determined enough to know that I will succeed and I will make my money and I will get to where I want to be in time with significant
Mhm.
effort. But I am very, very envious and jealous of people that have big families, that have a good bond with their family
I get that.
or have a good bond with their significant other.
I get that. I get that on a personal level. I don't experience the jealousy part, but I definitely experience the yearning for that because I'm lacking in that area as well. I have zero connection with my bloodline, zero communication with my bloodline. I'm literally in Minnesota alone in a honeycomb by myself, rebuilding and restructuring my life. But that brings me to, it's not a question I have on the list, but it's something that I just want to touch on because as men, I know from the youngest of ages, whether it be society or family, we're almost, not almost, we are conditioned to compartmentalize our emotions, conditioned to deal with our emotions on our own time, basically, not really put this type of stuff on the forefront. So I do appreciate you even being candid enough to share that. Are you doing anything or do you have anyone that you're able to communicate specifically with about those mental ailments and pains and fissures? Because I look at them like we all have fissures in the mind that at certain points either we need to suture or someone else that has the know-how that we have to allow in to suture, and that's a risky business for men in general because we don't like letting people in. So do you have in this moment, whether it be a therapist, or I don't really like therapists, but whether it be a confidant, a friend, someone you call a brother, or just a community that you're building that you could be that vulnerable with and let all of those things out so that y'all could kind of start the repairing process? Because I know I still have breakdowns about certain people I've lost because I'm literally still in the process of attempting to repair myself. So I'm just curious, do you observe that and do you have that?
So I would say that my core group of friends, my best friend is a girl, my friend Joanne, my other close friend Blanco, my other best friend Alexander Price. I all talk to about this anytime, anywhere. They'll always be there for me. I will say that those three specific ones they all have family and have a good relationship with their family.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they're there for me, they can't really resonate with that, but they'll still be there with me to try and help. However, I do have one other best friend who's in the group chat that I put you in with me. I highly recommend you specifically checking out his content, and I wanted us three to link forever since I met you. But it's my friend Zach. His
Yeah.
Instagram name is Felons, like felon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But he's had the worst life imaginable, bro. And when I say the worst life imaginable, I would say based on anybody that I know, no matter how bad everybody's circumstances is, from everybody that I've ever met in my entire life that I know, including my own, it doesn't even come close to what this man has experienced at an early age. Um, and he somehow managed to become one of my three most successful friends through no other means except for hard work and grit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible. And that's who genuinely made me feel better when I was going through everybody dying and left with all that funeral debt and all these bills to pay. Because when it came to talking to everybody else gave me the excuse of, it's okay for you to be in this bad situation. You know, your life just crumbled. You're left with all this debt. You just dealt with so many people dying all at once. It's natural for you to just feel chaos and to be in a bad spot. But with
Yeah.
him, that doesn't work with him because he can turn around and be like, I've been through worse and I still came out alive in a great situation. So it's like he eliminated any form of self pity that I would have for myself because he was that living proof that even if your life goes to straight garbage and you're homeless and have nothing, that there is still a way to build massive success.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, but it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And because if I wasn't friends with him, I think I still would have been in a hole. I think I would have ended up being homeless and I would have just been screwed. I don't think I would have come back. But because I knew him, because it's easy to always see these success stories of people being like, oh, I was homeless, sleeping on people's couches left and right, and then I built success. Half of those people, they're just bullshit stories. And then the ones that really that did have those stories, I don't know them personally, so I didn't see it in real time.
Mm-hmm.
But with him, I saw it in real time. I watched it in real time. You know, just for some context, this friend of mine, you know, both his parents, he was pretty much his parents were drug addicts, and he ended up needing to be on drugs when he was born, like medical drugs, because him as a baby, he was pretty much he needed it because his
Mm-hmm.
parents were active abusers.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody who went through his whole entire life, you know, having gang members break in and out of his house as a child, beating up his parents while his parents are doing dope and all that. You know, getting his parents beat right in front of him, getting beat by his own parents, getting beat by random people that he didn't even know because his parents were so involved in guns and drugs and gang violence. Like, he went through all that, living in the projects for the majority of his life. And then as he got older, you know, he tried to take care of his parents with his parents doing bad things to him, robbing him, not being there for him, and just making his situation overall worse.
Yeah.
Um, and then his parents eventually passed away and he was still left with nothing and you know paying for everything like but he managed to he has like a construction company, like a cement business. He makes music himself and he just succeeds in every avenue, and it's all self-made from him, from literally in him. And he was one of those people that I look up to, that I can honestly say, like, he didn't sleep a lot of nights. He worked hard 7 days a week. He just had hustle in his blood, but he had that chip on his shoulder. I feel like because he had nothing from the very beginning, like, I experienced having shelter. Even though I had a bad relationship with my family,
Right.
I had a form of shelter. He was living with three siblings and his parents in like a one-room studio where everybody was living in one room in the fucking projects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I at least had my own bedroom. Was it luxurious? No. It was a small house, but I still had my own bedroom. He didn't even have that privilege. He was literally in one room with his parents and two other siblings. So that's something that I would never, like, I couldn't even imagine what that would be like growing up in a room with like that bathroom in the same place that your kitchen is. You know, like, you're literally cooking food right next to where you shit and piss. There's no doors or anything separating that. And to top it off, you have two other siblings, one younger than you, one older than you, and then your parents are literally just doing drugs. Like the hardest of drugs, your whole life. From you being like a little baby up into your young teens, up into your early adult years before they passed away. And then they
Mm,
pass away with literally leaving you nothing except debt. And you're still in the projects. Like he managed to overcome that all on his own. And he luckily he met a good girl who was with similar situations like he was, and they were kind of trauma bonded together, and they both just built a really successful career for the both of themselves. And he's still making music to this day. Like there's not a person on this earth that I look up to more than him. He's just been through stuff that I couldn't even imagine. And some of it, like I got to see, like, I've known him, been friends with him for about like 13, 14, 15 years now. So I got to witness a lot of those hardships in real time. And
mhm,
now he's at a point where he's buying real estate properties, renting some out, and he's still just doing music and what he loves. And he made a merch business where he's printing merch for all these big bands that aren't really tech savvy, that have been around since like the 1990s and the hardcore and punk rock scene in New York hardcore, like CBGB venues. Have you never heard of CBGBs down
mhm.
in,
Yeah,
Brooklyn and the Bronx?
for sure.
But all those old, really famous hardcore bands that have big followings that aren't tech savvy, because he's been making their merch and, just selling their products, and he made whole nother business out of doing that. So he has all these multiple forms of incomes, and, he got into stocks, but that's just something extra. But he has multiple forms of incomes that he built through nothing else except his hard work and grit, and it's so admirable. Like he's the main person that I could say that whenever I'm feeling down or feeling like when I'm giving myself self-pity, feeling like I can't accomplish anything, he's the first person I talk to, because I know he's going to sit me down and be like, "You're being a baby, man up and make shit happen." And normally if somebody else told me that, like if any of my other friends told me that, I would be like, how can you say that to me when you've never experienced anything that I've been through? So yeah, it's easy for you to say man up, make stuff happen, when if shit hits the fan, you could rely on your parents for money. You could rely on your trust fund for money. You have 500,000 in the bank that you inherited from your parents.
Mm,
Your parents died and left you all this money. I don't have that, so how can you tell me to go do these things when you're living in a giant world of privilege?
mm,
But with him, I can't say that to him because he doesn't have that privilege.
yeah,
He doesn't have those trust fund parents. He doesn't have parents that he can fall back on. He's his plan B
he built
and
his
his
world.
plan A.
He built his
Yeah.
world. So,
So
have you
that's the
ever?
advice that I could take from people.
I know you had said that you were having those breakdowns, and that's what I was kind of looking at specifically with that friend group. So I see that he's the one that, if anything, you have the closest connection to, because y'all have, to some degree, the ability to overlap through pain and the progress that you have both made. Have you ever seen him have any of those types of breakdowns that you shared that you had? Or has he referenced to you that he's had those types of breakdowns? And if so, how did he tell you that he dealt with them, and did you gain some tools on how to deal with it? Because I know if you're still dealing with it, you're actively in the process of looking for tools on how to obviously mitigate it, because no one wants to have daily breakdowns. So I'm sure you're I'm sure you're actively working on that. But is he the person that you'll talk to first if you have a breakdown, or do you try to keep that away from him because you know he's tough and he's just gonna be like, bro, tough that shit out, push through?
He will be like, tough that shit out, push through, but at the same time, even though he has that harder mentality, he's not afraid to show his emotion. Like if I'm talking to him, he might, in conversation, he'll be just like, yo, just like if I'm talking about something hard, he'll be like, yo, like I broke down. I thought about my mom the other day, thought about how my mom overdosed on heroin, and I just cried about it. Me and my mom, because even though he had a bad relationship with his mom and his parents, he still loved them. His
Mm-hmm,
parents did love him and they still showed him love, and he doesn't really hold anything against them, because even though his parents did bad things, his parents didn't really do bad things to him.
mm-hmm,
They just kind of had bad habits.
mm-hmm,
So he wasn't really getting abused by his parents or emotional abuse. They just had bad habits that caused a lot of bad things to happen. So it wasn't like my parents, who got physical or emotionally discriminating against me verbally. His parents just caused bad things to happen. So he did love and care about them. So he'll randomly just tell me, when he breaks down occasionally, just thinking about his mom or even thinking about his dad, but he'll be like, at least they're at peace. They're not chasing the dragon anymore, doing bad things. They're finally resting in peace. But he has no problem saying that he broke down and cried the other day. He'll say that openly. He cares zero about anybody that would judge him about saying that. So I will say, even though he has that hardened shell, he also has that softer side, but he's very selective with who he shows that to. Like, he's not just going to go and randomly say that to a random person on the street. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like, he says that to me because we're friends, we're like family. So in that situation, but he would be the first person that I go to, usually in most cases, if I have a really big breakdown where I feel like I can't come back to or I can't snap out of it. He will be the one that makes me snap back. I would say that he's probably one of the only people that can make me snap back, because anybody else I would throw in their face. Easy for you to say, you have this to fall back on, or you have this. You lose everything. You can go back to mom and dad's house. You can go back to your brother's house. You can go back to there.
right.
You have that safety net. He doesn't have that. So that takes away the power I have to throw that in his face and be like, oh, you have this privilege, because he doesn't.
Mm,
Everything that he has is something that he's built. He's has a privilege now, but I wouldn't call it a privilege because he made that happen.
yeah,
Nobody handed it to him. He created that for himself.
yeah. So you obviously aren't trying to escape your own reality because you're going through it on a day-to-day basis. And pardon me, a lot of people that have deep, deep pains will at certain points in time try to escape it, numb it, or do whatever we can to not have to face and or deal with it. How do you, on a personal level, avoid going down that route of escapism?
I would say, if I ever try to just like I tried numbing when like everybody first died. I would say escapism was definitely very relevant for me, and I tried numbing my emotions because I tried to keep on this mentality of, it's not phasing me, it's not getting to me. I'm just dealing with it. Yeah, I'm a little upset and I'm sad, but I'm powering through it, and I feel like that just hurt me more. And that's also the easy way out too. Just like pretending like it's not bothering you or not hurting you. I feel like it takes more of a man to admit, especially with serious things like death. It takes much more of a stronger man or stronger person in general to go and admit when things aren't okay and they're having trouble coping with things, especially like death. But something that I try to avoid when it comes to escapism is I tell myself that it's not going to serve me, that it's just going to set me back. It's a distraction. That's all escapism is. It's numbing and suppressing it, and it's just going to end up coming out later in a worse way. That's going to be more of a detriment to either my mindset or my health and my productivity and advancing myself forward.
Mm,
So I know that it's better to let myself feel and let myself feel while being productive than to try and look for a distraction that's going to numb myself from the emotions and also keep me from being productive,
I
if that
like
makes
that.
sense.
It makes a lot of sense. So, to any degree, because I would never want to assume, presume, so I want to ask, do you feel at any point in time you used your fitness journey to escape from it, and not in a negative way? Because I do believe there might be some forms of escapism as long as we balance it that aren't detrimental and poisonous and toxic to us. I know I use and still use till today fitness and going to MMA gyms to escape certain pains and anger, and I don't even want to say escape, to purge. So I'll rephrase and repose that. Do you feel that you've used fitness to allow you to properly purge certain emotions and work through certain situations?
Yeah, this is gonna sound. So I think I said this before when we first met up and spoke in New York. But I would say fitness and anime is so close together in terms of me using them both to get through the feelings I have. So, like for example, the one of the typical shonen anime tropes. A character goes, sees a couple people that they're close with, or their girlfriend or a friend go and die, and then they go and get the big power up, and and they end up succeeding.
Hmm.
So, in when it comes to fitness, let's say I'm going for like a 3 or 4 plate pull up or a 3 plate chin up, and I've never done it before for the first time. Like when I got my first pull up with 345 plates attached to me, which is like 135 pounds,
Hmm.
the first rep, I was literally thinking back to the situation with my first girlfriend dying, but I wasn't thinking about her dying in the car accident. I was thinking about the driver of the car that killed her. I was thinking about them actually killing her physically by hitting her in front of me in my mind. And then I was thinking about me going and fighting them after that. And with that thought process in my mind, I was able to get that pull up. And I got the pull up. But that's the type of area that I bring my mind to when I'm training.
Hmm.
That a lot of people say that's pretty toxic, that's pretty bad and more detrimental, but that's always been what helped me succeed. And I did that my whole life because I was only 17 when my first girlfriend died. So that scenario kind of helped me get past all these different levels of fitness because I would play that same scenario. Or like, I would have like other best friends that I was close with, like my friend Blanca, who I'm really close with, or my friend Joanne. I would think about somebody going and killing one of them, and then me going and fighting that person to get revenge for them getting killed. And that thought, the pull up or the 135-pound pull up or 135-pound dip, or the 315 squat, me getting that weight up would be me getting revenge on that person who killed my friend or loved one. And I would take that anime trope, put it with real life people in my head, and that's what would help me accomplish my fitness goals,
That's
which
dope.
is wild. And most people, whenever I tell that to them, they think I'm crazy
Nah, that's
and totally
dope.
like out of this world, but it
Yeah.
helps and I succeed. So like, why would I stop doing it if it's going to keep having me get success?
Well, the one thing I will say is that for me, studying some of the greats of just industry in general, that's the quote unquote killer mentality, and not everyone has that. So not everyone will even ever be able to conceptualize the why that it's important for you to maintain that. So I can appreciate that because Kobe Bryant had the killer mentality. Michael Jordan, for sure, admittedly had that. He creates scenarios and create beefs with people in his mind that literally never said nothing to him, so he could rev himself up and charge himself up to give his A game in every situation. So I personally can actually appreciate that. Um, I'd had someone ask me before, so I'm not going to give my answer, but I want to get yours about forgiveness. Do you believe that it is necessary for you to forgive other people, even if they don't want your forgiveness, even if they haven't done anything to show you they care about your forgiveness? Do you feel on a personal level that if you don't forgive people, that you won't be able to properly move on and or heal?
No, I that ass. No, I will say I can completely not never forgive somebody and totally be moving through my life without carrying any extra baggage. I will, however, say um, that with that being said, obviously, if I randomly think about said individual that's wronged me in some type of way, shape, or form, that if I think of them, I'll be like, oh, like I don't like that person. I'll never forgive them. But I won't say that I'm going to sit there and dwell and think about it. Like, I wouldn't say that me not forgiving somebody makes me, it doesn't hinder my life or quality of life or my mindset or motivation. Like, for instance, when my first girlfriend died when I was younger, there was a guy who pretty much he just didn't like me for no reason. Actually, I think there was a reason. I got in a fight with one of his friends at like a hardcore show in New York when I was 17. Accidentally hit one of his friends, a whole big thing. But anyway, that was why this said individual didn't like me. So when my girlfriend died, MySpace was around, if you remember MySpace.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
he got pictures of my girlfriend who passed away from her MySpace and started posting her all over his MySpace, pretty much being like, haha, she died. That is such a stupid girl. She's dead. She's never coming back. Peter's so sad. Boo hoo. Dead girl. Dead girl. And literally just posted it all over his MySpace. And obviously, I reacted very poorly to that. That caused a
Fair
lot
enough.
of confrontation with his whole friend group and my whole friend group.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say I could never sit here and lie to you and say, oh, I forgive that person. There's just certain boundaries that you just don't cross. And that's never nothing, or is ever going to change my mind on that. People can say, "Oh, that's toxic. You're ruining your mental health by never forgiving somebody. You got to forgive somebody to truly move on." It's like I could move on and not forgive them. Just because I don't forgive them doesn't mean that I'm sitting here
Dwelling.
and dwelling on it, thinking
Yeah.
about it day to day. If anything, it's a lesson and it's a constant reminder not to trust certain people that give you bad vibes and gives you bad energy.
Acceptance, lessons learned. I like that. Yeah, no, I concur with you on that. I had to go in depth the other night explaining that I don't feel I need to forgive anyone, specifically and especially those that don't not only go out of their way to ask for the forgiveness, but have the actions that match the words to let me know they truly do want the forgiveness. Because I'm sure at some point, those that have the abusive boyfriend or abusive girlfriend, because it could go either way, that after the abuse is, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But then they beat the shit out of you again the next day. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
Then they do it again and again and again and again. So it's like, why should I have to forgive you? A, you don't want the forgiveness. B, you haven't earned the forgiveness. C, you don't deserve the forgiveness. That's me personally. So that's why I wanted to see where you at with it. I don't ever want to influence anyone's answer, but I do truly believe forgiveness is a gift that you give to other people. I'll forgive myself if and when need be. But for me to forgive someone else, that's a gift to bestow upon someone that 9 times out of 10 they might not have earned or deserved.
No, it's true, honestly. And I feel like that's one of the. See, this is why I'm so grateful that you and me connected when we did. I don't even remember what caused it. I think I found one of your posts early on, but I feel like the first video I saw from you, there was just something about what I don't even remember what video it was. All I remember is that the tone of your voice and what you were speaking about, I just got this weird vibe or weird feeling from you. And it was just saying, this guy is similar to me in many different aspects. Even though I don't know him, I can just like feel the energy. It's just like I felt it through the screen, bro. It was just, I can't explain it. It was the weirdest thing. And the only other time I can say I genuinely felt that way was with my friend Zach,
Yeah.
the one Felons on Instagram, who I
Yeah,
gave you, parts of his story, which is why I think it'll be legendary one day if we all three like get together.
for sure.
But
It's
I,
going to
I
happen.
felt it. I felt it through the screen, bro. Like it was just something, and I was just like, I think I like followed you, and then I ended up commenting on a bunch of your videos. You commented back, and then I messaged you. But it was just something where I just like some sign, bro. I don't know what it was, but it was just like I have to message and like link up with this guy. Like I have to be friends with this guy.
No, this has been
And like
dope.
I said, I've only felt that once before with my friend Zach, and I've
Yeah,
never felt that any other time. But
yeah.
and you even just saying that, like most people, you and me are probably, and probably him, he has that same opinion that we have. Us three are the only people that probably agree with that statement, where other people would say, you need to forgive somebody in order to truly like move on and be happy with your life. And I don't agree with that. I just don't. I just don't.
And I feel like I personally probably have taken a lot of influence. Now, I know, let me correct. I know I've taken so much influence from anime as well because I started watching anime in 1992. So I definitely have been influenced for the majority of my life by these stories, by these characters, the character arcs, seeing what it is to be a hero or anti-hero because I definitely am not the hero. I'm more akin to an anti-hero. So that leads me to a question that I remember asking you before we were in person. If you could choose any anime universe for you and your friends and people to
You
exist
you
in,
you did
I
you
had
did ask me this on
to
our
bring this
last
one
one.
back because this one really, it always plagues my mind. What anime universe would you choose and why?
Yeah, I gave you the two answers. They'll probably still be the same this time. But I said the socially acceptable answer would be like Yu Yu Hakusho. All my friends have powers. There's demons and everything like that. Yu Yu Hakusho is the classic. The not so socially acceptable answer would be Gantz. And I remember giving you the rundown of that. I don't know if you ever watched Gantz or
I
got
started
around to
watching
it.
it because of you, my friend.
Did you finish it?
Not yet, not yet.
It's
Fucking
uh
amazing though. Why
yeah.
Gantz?
So a lot of people dismiss the manga. I would say is probably my top three manga of all time. I would say it's the greatest work of fiction next to Attack on Titan. in general, the actual manga, because the anime doesn't dive deep into it. The anime touches on certain things like the pain. Like there's one scene in the anime when there's this one guy, because they all died, they get their lives back with suits, and then if they kill the demons, they get their lives back for good.
Mm.
But they have to get 100 points. But at one point on one of the missions, after the main characters had all his friends die, the other people that are just talking about being dead, they're like, "Oh, we don't want to play the game. We're dead anyway, so what's the point?" And two of them committed suicide, and that's why they ended up there. And the main character is just like talking to them, you're like a selfish little prick. You're sitting here complaining about being in this room when you're the one that committed suicide, when so many people that are dead wish they could have had a second chance at life, and you're here taking the second chance for granted. And the manga touches on a lot more things with that type of message, where the anime only hints on it because the anime is only like 26 episodes,
Yeah,
but it dives really, really big into the human psyche of what's right and wrong, what's acceptable, and how the human mind is going to do more things that are very different when they know people are watching versus when people aren't watching.
very true. Very true.
Like the subway scene, bro. Like most people have, like, we were on the subway and we saw a homeless bum end up on the subway. Are the majority of the humans going to think, oh, I got to go and save him? Or are they going to think, "Oh, I might get to see a human die today"?
Yeah,
That's a very good question.
I believe it's the
Unfortunately,
latter,
yeah,
and I believe they're going to take their phones out to get content and
yeah,
possibly go viral.
yep. Just like the people in the show that take out their phones and started snapshotting the pictures when him and his friend got ripped apart by the bus.
Hmm. Hmm. So, if any, what is one of the most profound lessons you've? Oh, and before I ask that question, I see you have the curse symbol on your neck. Is that the curse symbol from Berserk? I just wanted to double check before. Okay, cool. So, all right. First question: how has Berserk as an anime impacted you? Because I feel like for anyone that's watched Berserk and/or read it, there's no way you don't got a little stain on your brain from that one. So, how has Berserk impacted you as an individual?
So I would say I didn't get the full effect of Berserk in the beginning because my mom bought Berserk for me on VHS when I was 9 years old, 10 years
Damn.
old. Um,
Damn.
so I watched the original 1996 one
Yes.
when I was like 8 years old, probably a couple years after it came out.
Wild.
I was born
Yeah.
1991. I did watch the new Memorial Edition, which I
Yes.
think was phenomenal. The
Same
13
thing. Yes.
episode.
Yes.
But I would say when I was a kid, what the gravity of what was happening in the show in those last two episodes didn't really hit me emotionally, and I kind of just saw it a different way. And then rewatching it again when I was in my like mid 20s, I was just like, how did I watch this when I was a
Same.
kid? That's
Same.
crazy. Um, but I will say that it gave the way Guts felt in that moment with Casca and Griffith. It made me, when I rewatched it in my 20s, it instantly brought me back to when my girlfriend got killed in the car accident.
Mm.
Because the way that Guts felt when that demon was holding him
Yeah.
down while Griffith went with those things to
Yeah.
Casca, it literally made me feel like I was at the Freehold Mall again getting the call from my girlfriend's mom that, the drunk driver just killed my girlfriend. And I felt that same level of powerlessness when I watched that in my early 20s again. And I would say that it caused definitely a mental spiral for me because I didn't remember Berserk at all from a kid.
Same.
Like I remembered it slightly,
Same.
but I didn't. It was fresh. It wasn't fresh in my mind. It's like I knew that I watched all of it as a kid, but
Right.
I didn't remember the details of what happened. And also like the stuff with Griffith being like sleeping with those men in the show. Like I didn't realize that was going
Block
on as a kid
it
either.
all out.
Yeah, yeah. But seeing that original moment with Casca, Guts, and Griffith, and the demons are holding him down, and he's cutting off his own arm,
Yeah.
it literally triggered me back into being into a depression over my girlfriend dying, which caused me, I would say watching that again caused me spiral for another year. Because I was slowly starting to like not recover from getting over my girlfriend's death, but I was slowly starting to get a little bit better. And that show caused me a giant spiral backwards. And
Mhm.
all the progress I made in the last 4 years kind of went backwards all over again because of that show. Um, so yeah, it's now like after I've rewatched it a few times. Now I try to rewatch Berserk once a
Yeah,
year. As crazy as that sounds,
yeah,
because
same.
now I get a different perspective on it. Now, because especially because Memorial Edition, the 13 episode series, covers a little bit after that event, so
Yeah,
you see Guts progress towards his life, aiming to get revenge on Griffith and to move forward in his life. Where the original one, that's as important because the original one just ends like that, where
yes,
he's screaming Griffith as it's happening, and it
yes.
just ends
It's
on a
done.
cliffhanger. So you're just like, oh, his life is just miserable. Guts probably dies. Like I thought he probably died after that, you know? I was just
Yeah,
like, and that made me start reading the manga. So I
yeah,
would say reading the manga and then watching the Memorial Edition, knowing that he recovers from that and goes on to get revenge on Griffith and goes on to better his life and, you know, become a better person and improve. That is very inspiring for me. And I think to myself, if he could go through that, I could go through what I'm going through. So I always wear this on days that I'm so kind of calling myself out on this, but I only wear this on days that I wake up extremely depressed. So this is how like I woke up this morning not feeling the best. I put
yeah,
this on because it's that reminder that even though he's a fictional character, he went through something worse than me.
yeah.
So I could, you know, I could come out of it too.
Very true. And fictional or not, anyone that's ever watched that show, I know it gives me a visceral response even to this day when I watch it. It's a gut wrenching story. It's a gut wrenching ending, and it definitely lets you know that the good guy doesn't always initially win. And that doesn't mean the story's over. It just means you have to now recreate and reimagine yourself because that's exactly what he did. He recreated and reimagined himself and became a new version of his own previous self to achieve the great feat that he did. Are there any goals right now that you have on the horizon that you see yourself pushing towards because you have a timeline on it? You create like a deadline for yourself? And if so, if you're able to in this moment speak on it, what would it be and why do you have the deadline on it?
So I would say I don't know how. I mean, my goals are never gonna. I'm always gonna say my goals don't sound realistic in the beginning, but I told myself that before the end of, and I'm giving myself a decent amount of time, but I told myself before the end of 2025 that I wanted to hit at least 30K on Instagram as like a small metric, what I think is still very doable. Hell, I could end up even getting more than that. You know, there's always the potential possibility, but that's something because I feel like if I give myself a goal, I'm more. See, I work the opposite in other people where a lot of people will say that if you give yourself a big goal, that you're gonna make yourself get overwhelmed and not end up achieving your goal. My whole thing is I like to talk a big game because the more I talk a big game, it forces me to be like, fuck, I've been talking out of my ass, so I don't want to embarrass myself. So now it makes me take action to work that much harder so I don't look like a fool for loudly talking about these goals. Like, even before I started doing all the flips, I told myself that I was going to make a career out of learning how to backflip and teaching flips and become a professional parkour athlete when I didn't even know how to do any flips. And everybody was like, "You're stupid. There's no way you could accomplish that. You're fat, you're overweight. You have no reason to believe you can do anything like that." But because I literally bragged about it and I was telling like, "No, like I'm going to be known. I'm going to have thousands of people that know my name everywhere in multiple countries and multiple states all across America that are going to know who I am from doing this." And people were like, "You're crazy." But because I bragged about it, and bragged about my own self confidence that I really didn't have about things that I was going to accomplish, it made me take out all these little steps that I would have never taken had I not wanted to look like a fool.
Mm,
So I'm a big believer in not fake it till you make it. I hate faking it till you're making it because that's just like living in delusion. But I'll go and say that I'm going to accomplish these things publicly because everybody will be like, oh, he said he's going to do this. So now I expect to see him do this. And if he doesn't do this, we're just going to look down upon him and lose respect for him. So because I know that that will be the result of people looking down on me and losing respect to me, Granted, I shouldn't care about other people's opinions. I'm putting myself in that position purposely because I know that's the only way. This is just what worked for me. That's the only way to get myself to take extra action when it's forcing. So it's like a way of forcing myself to be accountable in a sense.
Self-fulfilling
Where
prophecy.
yeah, where a lot of people, everybody else I've ever met, they'll say, "Oh, move in silence, move in silence." If you move in silence, real people that are going to build success move in silence. They're not going to talk about what they're doing. They're just going to do it in silence and let the results speak for themselves. For me, I don't work like that. It's just not how I work. I work best under pressure when I know something's at stake, which is also why I think, pain is like, I don't think if my girlfriend never died when I was younger, I would have got to where I am now. I think I would have ended up at some desk job doing, like, I think I'm more successful now because my girlfriend died. And I also think I'm even more successful now because my family died. I think that if they stood alive, I wouldn't have made the strides in my career. Granted, I fell behind for a little bit, but I think that I made bigger strides in a shorter amount of time because I was forced into those situations than if everything was smooth sailing. Like, I genuinely don't think you and me would be talking right now if my girlfriend ever died. I don't. I really
Mm.
don't. So when it comes back to the goals, like 30K by the end of 2025, I told myself I'm trying to heal my hamstring. I told myself that I wanted to get at least five new stunt gigs and commercial work before the end of 2025. I already succeeded in that, and I got three, but I can't take them because though, like I'll take a couple gigs if I know that Advil and Tylenol can power through it.
Yeah,
But the other three gigs that I got, they're too life threatening and risky that I have to be 100%. Like one of them was a commercial for this backpack company and pretty much it involved me front flipping from one roof to another. And yeah, I know I could 100% do it. I could still probably do it now, but just the fact of knowing that I'm only at like 70% and I'd be relying on
mm,
Advil and Tylenol to power my body through that. It's like, should I really risk my life for this gig for a couple extra $1,000 and some fame and notoriety from being
yeah,
published on their Instagram and a commercial when my injury is still very, very prevalent and I'm only at like 60% of my full capabilities? Probably not.
yeah,
But, I did reach those three goals because I got three gigs that, I had to turn down because I know I'm not physically able to. Like, I'm able, but I don't want to take the chance because,
yeah,
one, that could be my life. Or two, I can make the injury worse and never be able to do this again. Where I know that if I take a little bit, few extra months, recover properly, I can get back to that. And if I pulled in those stunt gigs so quickly with going ham on these talking videos for 3 weeks in a row, then I know that, I could do it again when I am fully
for sure.
healed. And I'll be
Well,
able to have
that's
more
great.
energy.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What are you doing, if anything, to help to accelerate the recovery process?
You're actually looking at it. I have this hooked up to my butt and my hamstring right now,
Electric
which is
Tim.
yep.
Very good.
TENS machine hooked up. I have that all the time.
Yeah.
I do a lot of sciatica rehabs. So I'll do certain stretches and holding certain positions that trigger it a little bit, but not too much, just to get some blood flow.
Hmm.
I actually just started taking nasal spray BPC
I was
157.
going to
Um,
ask you if you knew about that peptide.
yeah, I was so I was gonna try the injection.
I would
I will
recommend it
say,
just because of, not to cut you off. The only reason I recommend it is because from all the studies I've done, they're still trying to figure out how to make a proper oral version because up to 97% of it is going to burn off in the gut
yeah,
if you try to ingest it. And
that's why I did the
thus
nasal
far,
spray.
right, thus far, I don't have enough research on the nasal, so I won't even pretend that I know that part. I just know that the oral is a
It's
non-rada. You're
it's
not going to
similar.
get
I was
more.
from the research I've done on the nasal spray. They said it loses about maybe like 45 to 50% of its effectiveness.
Okay.
So it's better
Okay.
than the oral, which loses like 90% of the effectiveness.
90%. Yeah, 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 for
So I
sure.
figured let
For
me give
sure.
this a try. The only reason that I didn't go straight to the injection is because I do know a lot of people that took the BPC and it completely healed their injury right
Mhm.
away. However, I do know one bad case So pretty much, and there's no real scientific evidence that goes and say this is fact, but there have been some other similar cases that have popped up on like the Reddit forums that
Mm.
lined up with the person that I know. So because it's causing the accelerated healing of your cells and muscle tissue, there is also some people's belief that if you already have a pre-existing cancer or potential small tumor in your body, that it could potentially, ideally, in theory, potentially speed up the growth of said tumor or cancer.
You are
And what?
100% correct on that. And me just from working with bodybuilders, because my coach, I use peptides from 2020 to 2022 to heal my injuries because I have torn ACL, MCL, PCL. Both my wrists were dislocated, compound fracture, dislocation, ruptured tendon in my right foot, uh, herniated disc. uh I don't even remember all my injuries at this point, but when I say that it brought me back, and I didn't even get to use the BPC. I was using TB 500
3,500. Yeah, I heard
and
about that too.
GH. So the one thing I will say, and this is from my coaches and a lot of the people that are way more proficient in the science end and the biochemical end of it, if the person is using GH, anyone that is precancerous to any degree are not eligible for GH because you are guaranteed to speed up that process. Now, from the research that I've done, because I can even send you over like the clinical trial stuff that people have done, because there's lots and lots of pages to read, but that BPC should not be speeding up the growth of cancerous cells. It shouldn't be. Not to say that it can't and won't in some adverse, like one-offs. That's why I wouldn't be shocked. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So I won't ever say it's impossible. But I do know that whenever it comes to the growth or the speeding up of cancer production, it's usually because the person was also coupling it with GH, because it is recommended to use GH at the same time as any of these peptides because you will get the most efficient and effective version of it. So that's just from what I know from personal use and also working with clients and my coaches and people in the bodybuilding realm. But yeah, definitely always take your time when it comes to anything injectable. You want to talk to a doctor, I would recommend going to get a pre-screening because you can go get that on your own. And then what I would say is that if you're clear and they're like, nah, you're not, you're not on the verge of it. Everything was good. Blood cell, red cells are good. White cell count is good. Get your levels checked. If you get all of that done, then I would say it might be time to sit down and, have a deeper conversation with someone to get on that good foot, because it is definitely life changing. It was game changing and life
Yeah.
changing for me because I was at the point after COVID that I was kind of, with the new injuries compounding, I was done mentally. I didn't really want to continue in the fitness. I was like, I'll just do some other shit. So, and for
Yeah.
me, I've been doing this since I was 7. I've been in fitness since I was 7. So for me, I was like, oh, I think my life's over.
Yeah.
So I don't tell anyone they should do it, but if you're already thinking about it, just definitely go to the doctor, get your pre-screening, and ask them to give you a printout, get your levels checked. Be like, I need all of my levels checked, and then you'll have a better idea of whether you're a proper candidate, because it is 100% case by case. And just so you know, right now, because you're in Jersey, there are clinics in New York. And I'll check to see if in Jersey, but I know for a fact in New York, hormone clinics specifically for athletes, where you can go and they will help to literally put together a package that's catered to you based on the results from your blood test. So you'll really get the most efficient and effective version of that treatment, because it is a treatment
Hmm.
that anyone can ask for. So just because I know that you're on this path, and that's also something that if you're doing it the right way, because I'm a proponent of doing things the right way. I don't want people to go talk to the guy in the gym, black market, and because you might end up getting some shit
Yeah.
that's gonna give you cancer. And I can't advocate for that. So the fact that we now have all these clinics opening up and it is becoming more prevalent, it's openly talked about a lot more in the fitness industry. It's more accepted now than ever. JRE, Joe Rogan was talking about BPC 157 and all of that. So I'm definitely a big fan of people getting the knowledge and doing it the right way. I'm glad to hear that you're even on that route, because it is game changing. We're in our 30s. It's Let's not act like we're getting younger. We're getting older. Injuries last longer. It's harder to recover when you get hurt, and
Yeah.
no one's going to sit there and cradle us or take care of us. It's on us to figure out a way. And as an anime fan, man, if it's going to give me the advantage the right way and I can feel consciously good about it, I'm probably going to do it. I'm going to level up whenever I get the chance to. Um,
Absolutely.
I definitely see you hitting that 30K by the end of the year without a question. Without a question. Because I see you on TikTok. I see you on Instagram. Are you at this moment? pushing into the YouTube realm, and I know you
I'm
have
on
the
YouTube posting 2 to 3 times a day.
I gotta
I
make sure
follow you on YouTube. I
if I
follow you on YouTube.
don't, then I need to follow you right back on YouTube. 'Cause I
It's
was just
just
gonna
Bar
say, like,
Sharkz, not Peter v. Dragon, but I post 2 to 3 shorts a day now on YouTube. I started 3 weeks
I
ago.
love it, bro. I love it, and I
I've
love to
been
hear
getting
that.
better responses on YouTube than I have with Instagram or TikTok.
That's great to hear, to be honest with you. And I was gonna say, if you're doing that, you will most likely actually get better results because of the fact that the Shorts program is still new, even though they're out of beta. Shorts is still new.
But
I know you have Bite the Bullet Media. Are you doing a podcast, or do you ever plan on doing a
I uh
podcast?
I have 7 episodes already filmed with different guests that I'm currently in the process of editing them all, and we're going to be releasing them in
I
seasons.
love
Season
it.
one is going to have 7 episodes. Each one is going to be 30 minutes to an hour. But literally, I've been filming podcast episodes with guests
Love it.
about people that have experienced trauma. Like I was talking to my friend who's also part of Bar Sharkz. His name is Resilient Calisthenics, and his wife who beat cancer. I had them on. I had a few of my other friends that have been going through some hard stuff. But I have 7 episodes already filmed. I'm just editing them, and then my goal is to release one every Friday in June for season one, and then
Yes.
have season two start around Christmas time of 2025.
2026. Oh,
20,
2025, Christmas.
2025,
Gotcha, gotcha,
25,
gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha,
That's
gotcha,
where I want to ideally have season two pick up. And
gotcha,
I
gotcha,
want to have
gotcha.
season one kind of go into summer, into
Yeah,
August, film another 7 in September, October,
right.
and then release them in December for season two.
I like that. That's what's up, man. I definitely see you're doing the work in all realms and fashion here. You're gonna hit those numbers, man. You're gonna hit those numbers, and we're gonna keep collaborating to make sure you hit those numbers. Because
I got a
have
question
some,
for you.
yeah, of
Because
course.
I know, because I don't know if you knew this about me, but I'm very curious about how you got started. So my Instagram following, I have like 23K. Half of my Instagram following came from YouTube originally because when I first started parkour and filming, and I first started getting commercial work with like Adidas, Red Bull, Welch's grapefruit snacks. When I started getting that commercial work, I was putting out a 15-minute long YouTube video every week for like 6 years. I didn't gain a lot of subscribers, but I would get like 15, 20,000, 30,000. A lot of my YouTube videos, which are all still up, where you can see like the full 15-minute, pretty much just commercial work, stunts, sending me to abandoned factories, me flipping on rooftops. We have a bunch of crazy stuff on the Bar Sharkz YouTube channel.
That's
And
dope.
those are the full videos. And then this year I just started doing the shorts. But half of my Instagram following was from Instagram, and the other half came from people finding me on YouTube, seeing the crazy flips I did on
Yeah.
rooftops on YouTube, and then following me off of Instagram. Where did your following on Instagram come from? Did it come from YouTube, or was it built solely on Instagram?
So for me, I built every one of my platforms on the platform. So my TikTok is at 90K, my main page, Kid Works, which is the shared name of this page. I built this audience on Instagram. I was going back and forth because I was running ads and I was learning ad management because I went to school for business in 2013 when I got out of prison. From 2013 to 2016, I was in college and I was learning just business. So I started my social media career in 2013, but my accounts were started, I believe, in 2011 because I started it while in prison because I was reaching out to people here knowing that I was going to be doing this when I got home. So I was working with DJ, because I'm an artist first. I was working with DJ Advocate out of New Jersey. He hosted my first mixtape, and I was getting featurettes and interviews from prison because I let everyone know, like, I've restructured my life. I was at year 2 in prison. I was like, I'm not the same person already. I'm drug free because I literally went in 166 pounds, finked out of my mind, probably coming down off of like 18 e-pills, most likely, if I can remember correctly. Cold turkey in the prison. Um, so from 2011 till now, I've been building, and I got my first big push, I want to say in 2017, for Facebook, when I went and did a speaking event for BET after Freddie Gray got murdered, and I was there with the Bloods and the Crips, and we was just talking about what we need to do to affect change and what we need to do to bridge the gap and for the community level. I didn't really have another big moment until like 2019, 2020. And that moment only came because I got booted off of Instagram because I was trying to run an ad. And it was during the time where they were cracking down on people trying to take people off platform on the OnlyFans. for whatever reason, because I wrote the word of, and I think I like capitalized the O and the F. They were like, "Oh, you're trying to take them to OnlyFans?" And they banned me. So all of a sudden, I couldn't run ads anymore, and my account got shadow banned for the first time ever. Even though I wasn't even getting much growth on Instagram at that moment, I was still at like 3,500 something followers. I hadn't even hit 5,000. I went directly to TikTok. Then quarantine came. Because I was already studying media management and brand management, I really focused in on the TikTok algorithm and how to market on that. Once I cracked it within like 6 months and I hit my first like 20 something thousand, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. And then I was like, well, I need to test it to see if I really get it. So I worked with my at then girlfriend and I was like, do you want to go viral? And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, do you want a social media presence? She's like, I don't have one at all. And I was like, so you're the perfect test subject, because if I can make you go viral, it verifies that the information I have is actually teachable and it works for more than just me. We got her account to like 200 something thousand followers in 6 weeks. She surpassed my account. She was more viral than me. And I was like, huh. So then I did the same thing with my sister. She ended up going viral, getting her freaking live show ended up having like 16,000 people in it per night. She got flown out to
Oh yeah.
Texas to be an MC, paid events. And then I did it for like 3 other people. So I was like, okay, this is marketable. This is monetizable. I understand. IG then lifted the ban that was on me. This is like 2021, 2022. I had the knowledge. I was working in marketing. I was working with people behind the scenes doing brand management, running ads for them, building up their brands online. And I met the kid that I was doing the podcast with, where all my viral clips came from. I met him and said, hey, I love what you're doing. The visuals are great. You have everything in place, but you have no audience. I said, let me be the fire in your village so that it could signal that this is where everyone needs to be. I think he kind of doubted it at first. So I told him, do this first interview with me, and I guarantee you're going to get your first big viral clip. Lo and behold, he did. We were then using the collaboration feature, which was relatively new to Instagram. Now, again, I study social media. So I literally know for a fact that anytime a social media platform releases a new feature, anyone that's using that feature is going to get maximum exposure compared to what they were getting the day before, because it's going to behoove the app, because they're getting back data. They need the data, so they need the people to use it. So I told him how I needed him to clip it. I've been studying Mr. Beast. I was kind of taking different notes from people that were extremely successful on social media. I have my little playbook that I still have till today that I implement no matter who I'm working with. And then the success came. My account on Instagram jumped from 3,500 to 15,000 in the first not even 6 weeks. I think it was like the first 2 weeks. It jumped to 15,000. Kind of lulled for a second. Then by like week 6, I was at 20 something thousand. We shot 43 episodes of the podcast. My 6-month obligation was done with him. We didn't re-sign the contracts because things weren't to my personal liking. And, on some real anime shit, if you're not of like high moral code and fiber, I don't care if we could make millions together. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. So I didn't go back to do that. But again, because I had already gained the content and knew what to do with it, I then took my 20 something thousand followers and got it to where it's at now by repurposing the same content that I had already put out and clipping parts that he might have missed as an editor, because my eye and your eye is going to always be different. We might both be looking at the same video, but what you think should be clipped isn't what I might think should be clipped. And because I have way more time just staring at the screen, studying it, I'm literally in that my mind is looking for viral content without me realizing it. So I was able to then just use my words, my musings, my observations to build a deeper audience, because I knew if I was building it off of just like funny clips of other people or, people's fails in the gym, that the audience wouldn't be there for me. They would be there for that generic content. And by the time I would try to present myself to them, they would probably reject it because they would be like, who is this guy anyway? So from day one, I knew I had to present me. So I've been doing that since day one. And it just took me refining the process of how to present myself on social media, and then studying the tools ins and out the ins and outs of these tools, because the algorithm's changing at this point like every 30 days. It used to be every 6 months to a year they'd update it. Now it seems to be every month they're updating the algorithm. So if you're not able to keep up with it, you're going to kind of get lost in the sauce. So that has been my road to glory, is me studying and then using my own primary accounts as kind of like the testing grounds for everything. And then once I knew what did and didn't work, what would get me banned, what wouldn't, I was able to go use that for other people. And that would always give me a deeper data set, which would allow me to then reintegrate it back into my business plan for me. and keep going up, which is why I'm now seeing another little growth spurt on TikTok because I've started posting again heavier over there. So I've amassed over 200 and something thousand followers between Alpha Fitness and the Kid Works account, because Alpha Fitness is a separate brand, the same way you have Bar Sharkz. And I've separated my brands knowing that everyone that's here for Kid Works and the music might not really want to see that if they're over there on the fitness page. So I knew to separate it from day one.
Yeah.
So since I got out of prison in 2013, I've had the same giant goals like you. I'm a giant goal setter. I've got my vision board right over there talking about my 1,000,000 followers that I'm about to have, and the amount of subs I'm going to have, and the amount of listeners on Spotify I'm going to have. Because you're either aiming for the moon or you're just sitting here on Earth looking up at it.
True.
Yeah.
It's true. And I resonate with that so much. Like I said, if I don't go and verbally say it out loud, I won't follow through. Mentally, I don't know what it is in my mind, but I need to verbally say it out loud in order to make myself go and after it and chase it. One other thing that I'm very curious, I'm sure you probably know way more about this than me. So, how do you get past? So, one thing that I've been struggling with on TikTok, my Bar Sharkz account, I don't post much on my Bar Sharkz account. When I do post something on my Bar Sharkz account on TikTok, it does fine, whatever. But on my main account on TikTok, I get flagged almost every other video for unoriginal content, but it's literally my content. It's not even me resharing it. It's for the first time ever. Like, I'll post the talking videos like I've been doing on Instagram, on TikTok, and it'll flag me and be like, you're not eligible for the For You page. But then I'll go post the video of me doing pull-ups and dips and of me talking over that. Video will do fine and no flag. I do a video of me talking, up, you're not eligible for the For You page.
Hmm.
And I've Googled it so much, and it keeps on saying, oh, you can't reuse old content, yada, yada. It's not old content. It's a video I filmed that day and uploaded that day. But without fail, I'll always have that happen, and then it'll give me like 100 or 200 views, and I haven't been able to figure out. And this has happened once before with one of my other TikTok accounts that I had that I was using originally, and then it just kept happening, and that's what caused me to make another TikTok account, which is the one I'm using now. But it's like,
Right.
do I make a third account or technically a
No.
fourth one?
I mean, I have 6 TikTok accounts, but I use them for different things. Like I have a clips channel and all of that I do. That's not even, it's a faceless clips channel where I'm repurposing other people's stuff just for the monetization purposes. I would say, interesting. I would say, if anything, start testing out. Are you in the Creators Club, the Creative Fund program? I know they reshaped what the Creators Fund program looks like. Are you even eligible for it yet? How many?
I think I am eligible, but I don't know if I've actually went into. I know I'll get certain things with my friends' bands, because some of my friends' bands that are really successful are sponsored by Bar Sharkz, and TikTok will send me these. Use this viral trend for your artist song, and then there's like $300 to $400 per certain amount of views if you get that viral video to a certain amount of views with that trend. I'll get things like that, but I've never
Yeah.
actually done one.
Okay, no,
I
I
don't
know
know if
what you're
that's
talking
part of the
about on that. I
creative
see that
fund.
on my monetization part too. Because whenever I go into my TikTok, they offer me that same stuff. But the monetization program is something different. Are you in the TikTok shop program yet?
I am. I think I am in that, but I haven't actually ever done a product or anything like that on it.
Did you download the TikTok shop app, the secondary app, and did you
Oh
go through the?
no.
So all right, so what you have to do is download the TikTok shop app, and you're going to basically integrate that TikTok shop app through your actual TikTok. They're going to make you upload your ID because you got to do like your tax forms and all of that because it does pay out. Even if you're only making like an extra 3, 4, 500 in the beginning of the month, that's extra money for you doing simple posts. But what's going to happen is that is a still new feature that they are pushing out if you use it. So not only would you be eligible to get certain products for free samples that they'll send you that they then want you to make advertisements with, they'll stop restricting your account as much because they've been attempting to push a lot of creators towards it. So if you're not at the point where you're like a quote unquote big content creator on TikTok quite yet, they're without telling you, they're trying to prompt you to do other things because the app has its own goals, wants, and needs, especially since that sector is building up exponentially, specifically with the new tariff thing going on. Right now, there's so many products you can sell on TikTok Shop and make some good coin. And you working in the fitness industry, there are items like the at-home dip bar that I'm actually going to be ordering from there soon, so I could do not only advertisements to sell and to make my commission on it, but it'll give me something to work out with, so I can now do my home workout series as well. Because TikTok also lets you create paid series that you can sell through TikTok. Yeah, I'll have more in-depth conversation with you whenever you want, because it's amazing what's happening on TikTok right now. I think that's part of the reason they're trying to get rid of it, because for those that understand business like you do, you'll see it for what it's worth when you know all the tools that are actually integrated into that app right now. So I'd probably just recommend you to get over that little hump, because they're doing it not knowledgeably. It's the AI. I call them AI watchdogs. It's not a person. The AI system in TikTok is relatively new because they just integrated that when they upgraded, when they turned TikTok back on. When TikTok was off for 3 days, they definitely made extreme changes to it, because everyone that's been on that app has noticed the shift in the algorithm, the shift in how content's working. Every one of my posts go into review right now. Every single one of them when I post. Doesn't matter if that post hit 400K, I got one hit 400 something thousand. Doesn't matter. They all went under review first. And it was very odd to me. So I realized it's because the algorithm's been updated and they integrated a new AI system into it that's monitoring us. So for you to kind of get, and for me as well, to get over certain humps, they want you to use certain features on the app. And one of the ones that I know for a fact allows us to get over the hump is the TikTok shop. And it's also something that helps us, because when you find the things that you use in real life, like vitamin D3 or protein powder, you'll literally be able to add it to your page, to your gallery. And then when you make the post, they're going to boost it, because it's going to show on the bottom that this is a commissionable post. So they're going to boost it out, and you will see a larger increase in your audience almost overnight.
That's true. I genuinely didn't even know that there was another TikTok app.
Yeah.
Can we still download that in the App Store, or is
Yeah.
that gone?
Yes, that is you can download that right now. It is so they have not only the TikTok app. So look, I'll show you. This is God damn it. This is the seller center on the bottom. That's the one next to the Facebook app. That's the seller center. That's TikTok shop. And then next to that, you see TikTok studio. So there's another little trick. Don't upload your content through TikTok directly. Download TikTok studio, upload your content through TikTok studio onto TikTok, and you will see an increase in change in your content and how it's
Really?
received. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Really? And TikTok Studio is another app.
Yeah, listen, man, the game is afoot. If there's one thing I can tell you, like I said, I keep my finger on the pulse of social media, because it's rapidly changing and evolving, but it's offering us more and more opportunity to become independent, but at the same time codependent, because obviously they want us to rely on them.
Yeah, I didn't know any of this about TikTok. You're way more knowledgeable than I am on TikTok, where most of my knowledge is YouTube and Instagram, but I would say I'm better at YouTube. I mean, I know more about YouTube than Instagram, but TikTok is the one I know the least
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I'm
TikTok is
very
the beast.
I, I'm very new to TikTok, and I avoided using TikTok for a very long time.
A lot of us did. There was a weird negative connotation around it for a long time, but then once every big brand on the planet got on, it was like, damn it, we all need to be here now. It's too late. It's too late. The window's closed just a little bit. With YouTube, did you have your YouTube partnership yet?
I honestly don't know. I know that I was able to make money. I was making money from 2017 all the way up until 2020, and that's when I fell off and I didn't do anything on YouTube till recently.
Yeah.
But for 2017 to 2018, with the videos, I was putting out like a 15-minute long video
Right.
every week, and
I
that was
remember you said that.
ranging decent amount of decent amount of views. And I know I was a part of their ad program because every month I was raking in probably around like not a lot, but like $200 to $500 a month from
No, that's
YouTube
dope. That
revenue.
means you should have your YouTube partnership. So another thing I'd recommend is to go.
I didn't lose it at all from that 4 years of being inactive, or
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't, because I've had my YouTube partnership for a few years now, and I was very inconsistent with my posting. At a certain point, I barely posted at all on YouTube for a long time. I just got back into YouTube maybe 8 months ago, after I got in this apartment, because last year I was in a homeless shelter. When I came out here to Minnesota, I was on the northeast side in a homeless shelter, figuring my shit out, getting it out the mud. And then I ended up in the rapid rehousing program after 6 weeks living in that shelter. And then I was able to come here to this apartment that I have, and this is the production studio that I'm building out now. So that's all soundproofing it, getting the mics, got the lights, new cameras, and getting the fitness equipment so I could do a home series of training as well, because there's so much money on social media. But go back into your YouTube account whenever you can. Go into your back end, which is going to be when you hit view your channel. And then when you go to view your channel, you're going to go to you're going to go to channel, customize your channel. And then when you hit that, it's going to open up YouTube Studio. When you go into the YouTube Studio, you're in your back end, and you'll be able to see how you can earn. You can set up your subscriptions on there. You can set up a tiered program on there directly in YouTube. And you can
Would it
even
be
sell
beneficial
merch. Hmm?
to post that? You can post through YouTube Studio too, right?
1,000%. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you think that would make a more of a difference, like how it does with TikTok, or no?
On YouTube, you just got to post. I recommend don't post it from the phone, post it off your computer. That's the only recommendation that I make, because I've done both, and I've definitely seen a variance where it seems to be more result based when I'm posting directly off of the computer. My subs on YouTube just jumped up by like 100 and something. Right now, it looks like 130 in the past 2 weeks, because I just got heavy on YouTube as far as pushing like consistent content 2 weeks ago. So now it's every day I'm dropping on YouTube, whether it be shorts, long form, or in between. So that's definitely a game changer, and I
You
can
think
see the money going up
you think
there.
iPad versus phone makes a difference?
I don't know. I've never tried it off the iPad, but I think
Because that's
because
what I'm
of
uploading. That's what I'm going to be uploading the podcast. Because right now my actual computer is
yeah,
very old. But I have the iPhone, newest iPhone. I just got the
yeah,
new one.
yeah.
And then I have an iPad that's like a fifth generation one. But that's what I'll probably be uploading.
No, realistically,
From
with YouTube, you should be fine. You should be fine uploading through the iPad. That shouldn't be an issue. You just want to go into your back end and set everything up so that you can maximize the potential of your earnings. That's really the biggest thing. And so, what's the other secondary thing you can download to get your YouTube analytics? Hold on, I'll give it to you
I
right
know I
now.
have the YouTube Studio on my phone
Yeah,
and
yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
my
yeah. I got
iPad.
that as well. YouTube analytics extension.
But yo, you like flipped the switch quick, because I remember when we were first talking, like shortly after I met up with you and we had that first episode we did, the shit hit the fan for you,
Hmm.
and I remember you telling me you moved out, and when we were speaking a little bit when you were at the
Hmm.
shelter, but now you remember you told me you're like doing content full time
Hmm.
now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I was just in California. I spent 2 months in California. I was actually there looking for talking to like talent management and agencies and all of that, because I'm with Central Casting. That was another recommendation I was going to give to you for you to like expand your potential to get those roles in the industry, is to go to the Central Casting office in New York and sign up. Sign up first
Is
chance you get, because
that
that's
like a
gonna.
talent agency? Because I'm a part of a couple different talent agencies. Or that something similar or something different?
Central Casting is one of the largest casting agencies in the country. They have main offices in New York. I just switched to the LA office, Atlanta, and I believe Miami. I don't remember if they have another one, but I know that those are the big ones. And they cast for all the major TV shows. So literally, I just had to pass up being on some like show called The Pit, because I wasn't in California during the time when I got the call, but they wanted me to work like 4 days in a row on The Pit. And I just had to pass up another role playing a bartender on some show, because I'm back in Minnesota right now. But spent 2 months in California. And then when I came back out here from California, it was full-time content. Yeah.
How was that transition um from going into like, because what you were doing something else prior? Were you bartending before you got the content?
No, no. Even when I was in New York, I was already kind of transitioning into full-time content. All I was doing was the podcast. I was doing brand management for certain people behind the scenes, as far as building up their social media profiles. I was working because I'm a musician, so I always had the music dropping, music videos, high-end videos, that kind of stuff. Uh, Built up the Spotify, worked with people like DJ K Slay out of New York before he passed away. So I was always making my little coin off of music as well. But when it came to the other ends of content, I was using my knowledge to gain the money, because I was of service to so many different people in the industry, because not many people can say they have thousands of hours researching social media and studying fucking social media as it grows, and then hundreds to thousands of hours of actually using it, like just being entrenched in it, where other people are sleeping at night and I'm sitting there with 3 different devices. I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at YouTube, I'm looking at TikTok, I'm taking notes, I'm getting comprehensive lists of who the top creators in different niches are. I'm creating PDF folders of this stuff because I knew that knowledge. I've always known that knowledge is power, but knowledge is also it's monetizable. If you have the information that someone else doesn't have and you know how to actually teach it and or put it to proper use, then you're able to monetize it. So I've always been doing that. I had little side gigs if I needed extra money because I was in New York with my family at that time. So I would always take side gigs, but I've always been working in the industry behind the scenes since 2013, from doing photo shoots, even doing security for the record label 300 with my guy Twin when we were working for celebrities. I was doing security for Cardi B at one point.
Wait, you have a twin?
No, his name is Twin.
Oh,
No, no, no,
I
no,
was
no,
about to be
no,
like, what?
no, no,
Like,
no,
why
no,
did
no,
I not know
no.
this?
His name is Twin. The guy Twin, the homie Twin, he put me on to the whole celebrity bodyguard thing. So that's how I kind of, and that was like 2015 to 2017. So I've always just been in the industry, just slowly building up my value in the industry because I didn't go the traditional route at all.
And were you still doing content full time when you first moved out there to Minnesota? Or were
No,
you doing
I mean, yes and no. I literally shot a podcast episode in the shelter, something
Yeah.
on our YouTube channel right now. So I was literally, even when I was in the shelter, I was in grind mode. I wasn't letting my circumstance or situation convinced me that I wasn't who I've always been. I was like, all right, shit hit the fan. Just because a king's not in his kingdom and wearing a crown, he's still a king. And I've always held that mentality. So I was shooting the podcast and doing the content, and I was literally going to gyms, getting free gym memberships when I was in the shelter. Not free gym memberships, the trial memberships, switching over my emails, going to a different gym to make sure I could shower every day, train still. You know, I didn't let my diet falter, even though I was in that
Hell
situation.
yeah.
So again, as soon as I got into this apartment, I got a job working for the school system in the kitchen because I'm always like, I need to maximize the little bit of coin I have right now because I'm starting from not zero because I have the knowledge, I know what to do, but starting from a little bit of a deficit because everything I had in New York did not come with me to Minnesota. I came with a backpack and a gym bag, literally my parallettes, my Olympic rings, and chalk. That's literally and a pre-workout dark horse. I traveled from New York with that to Minnesota because I knew that this is my life and this is my bread and butter. So I was working for the school system in the kitchen. Worked in the kitchen so I could get free food to bring home. When that gig ended, I got a little gig over at Applebee's just so I could get some more quick cash. Then when the opportunity to come to California came, I left for California in December, spent 2 months out there, and then after that, it was the pivot and this full-time content.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That in itself is just like, because so many other people in that exact same situation, one would have probably given up and probably stood full time at like Applebee's or just trying to do, something else. So many people. That's something that, you truly deserve the flowers for that one. Like that's incredible because most people in any of those types of situation, they would have crumbled, bro. They wouldn't have. So that right there should be like the ultimate sign that like you're on the path to greatness and you will make what you want to have
I
happen. Because,
appreciate that.
bro, like, it's facts, bro. Like, I can think about so many people where they've been put in a situation where it isn't even close to being as dreadful as what you've just experienced. And they've let it completely break them where they fall off their diet, which is huge because you fall off your diet now, your mentality is going to fall off too. Because with not clean food and poor quality food, your mentality is going to go along with it. It's kind of like when my family died, shit was hitting the fan, but I still kept working out and I still kept eating good. If I wasn't eating good, I would have fucking lost my mind.
For
I
sure.
would have went crazy if I wasn't eating good because I would feel like shit, start looking like shit. My self-esteem would go. With my self-esteem going, my motivation would go. And without my motivation and self-esteem, what do I got? Nothing.
Nothing.
So like the fact that you could keep your mentality by keeping yourself eating good, you probably had all the opportunities in the world being an Applebee's to just eat bad food, but you didn't. You know, that takes a lot of fucking willpower, a lot of fucking mental drive to overcome that adversity. Because 99.9% of people would have been snacking on the bullshit, would have,
Yeah,
you know, went and got a whole bunch of bottles of liquor to just numb the pain from what you were going through, and then had themselves just go to a downward spiral to the bottom. So,
yeah,
like, give yourself that in itself, you know, that's like, if just like that moment when came across your first video on Instagram, was like, I gotta message this guy, you know, that in itself should be the ultimate sign to you that, like, you're on the right path, that you will make what you want to have happen.
I appreciate
Because
that.
not many people can even get to a situation like that and come up without being completely destroyed and set back years.
Yeah, yeah, no, I definitely concur with that. I've seen it happen. Unfortunately, I've seen it happen.
All
I
small as
think
shit, bro. Like, people have been beaten down to the bottom from little shit.
I think one of the you're right. I think one of the biggest motivators for me when I was out here in that shelter was I met a 19-year-old that had been in the shelter since he was, I believe, either 17 or 18. And it was messing with me because as I spoke to him, and he was a good kid. Obviously, I think he was using certain substances. He wasn't clean. He was hanging out with the wrong people because it seemed like people was taking advantage of him because of his youth and his inexperience in life. But I kept it real funky with him, and I just told him, I was like, bro, I'm not gonna be here for long. Like, I understand, some people that have been in this shelter for a year, some people that have been in the shelter for a few years. I said, brother, I'm not even finna be here for a season. I'm like, I'll get this a few weeks. And he's like, I don't know. I said, listen, you know what I do every day? He said, what? I said, every day when we all got to leave here at 5:45 in the morning, the lights come on, and by 6:15, we all got to leave out of here, and it's freezing cold in fucking Minnesota. I don't know what's going on. I get on the bus, and I go to the county office in the nice area that I want to be in, and I hound them every day. Why? Because they can't deny or ignore me. I don't care how you feel. You have a job to do. Oh, you got 101 other cases? Well, all them other people here every day? No. So figure out what you're going to do with me. And that's how I ended up in the rapid rehousing program because I refused. I literally just refused. I was like, I'm not going to do this. And then when he saw that within 3 weeks of me doing that, I got accepted into the program, and all of a sudden they were looking for an apartment for me. He was like, how did you do that? I said, I didn't do anything you couldn't have done. So the next day, I said, yo, come with me if you want. I gave him one of my bus passes. I was getting a free bus passes to travel because I was learning Minnesota. I brought him with me from the northeast side up into Hennepin County, and then I introduced him to the people, told him what to do, and he ended up getting things situated for himself. He ended up leaving the shelter, I want to say 2 months after me, and he's now in Vegas.
Hell yeah, bro. Bro,
So
that's
I
awesome.
think it's just seeing people in these situations that I can see myself because I can see myself in them. I'm like, yeah, that could be me, but I refuse. Like, I could turn into the guy that when you walk to the hall, to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you just smell piss and shit because the dude's been so geeked out for the past 3 days, he don't realize he been peed on himself and got doo-doo on his pants. I'm like, I refuse. I just refuse. So for me, it's that drive. The same way you say you use like past pain to hype you up. I use the fact that I've been separated from my children as my ultimate driving factor for success in this lifetime because I refuse to let someone just paint narratives about me, knowing in real time who and how I am on a day in and day out basis, whether the cameras are on or off. So I've always used fuel to push myself, and that fuel's always been pain and anger. And it's always been something that I've been able to alchemize, which is something I literally witness in you, and it resonates like that. That was a deep connecting point when we had that first sit down in New York. I was like, oh yeah, I definitely see we both carrying the same eternal flame. And a lot of people they refuse to because they'll be consumed by the fire and they'll be destroyed by it. Whereas some of us, that's what's going to keep us going until we
We
reach the top
soaking
of the
it.
mountain. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude, that, just hearing that was just like, that whole story about the kid and just like the fact that he was there, and it took you being there and getting that and making shit happen for yourself. That's what it took to just get him going and, you know, make something happen for himself. That in itself is just like so inspiring. Because like you said, you could have turned into that old guy that just pissed on himself in the middle of the night. You know, it's so easy to let yourself fall into that.
Yeah.
And, so many people would be right there just being like, oh, like, we get it, we understand. Kind of the same way that, people expected me to crumble after everything. And when I first started just like, going down a shitty path after my family died, it was expected from everybody. Everybody just expected, oh, like Pete just had the craziest stuff happen to him. This is to be expected, his life just getting worse. Most people's life would get worse. But I didn't want that for myself. I could have chose to eat bad, I could have chose to, like I lost my house when all that happened.
Yeah.
Luckily it was a fluke accident that my friend was leaving his apartment and he was leaving it before his lease was up. And with literally a week before I was losing my house and wasn't going to have a place to live, I was searching for apartments nearby close to this area because this is where I run my business, and I couldn't find any. The closest apartment I had was literally like an hour and a half away from the area that I run most of my business. And I was like, fuck, I'm gonna like move like an hour and a half away and have to have this big commute. Like, I'm not gonna fucking, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. And then like, I only have a week to get out of my house, and then the house is gone, and then I'm fucking homeless. Literally like 3 days before I had to leave my house, my best friend Blanco was just like, yo, like my lease isn't up for like another half of a year. I found the place that I want to move into. Do you know anybody that actually could like move into my apartment? And I was just like, what the fuck? Me? And he was like, you have your house. And I was like, no, I'm losing my house. I need an apartment. And it just worked out like perfectly. When literally I was literally getting ready to sign a lease for an hour and a half apartment, an hour and a half away. And I'm so glad I didn't sign that lease
For
because
sure.
3 days passed and my friend wanted this new apartment. He wanted to end his lease early. So I took over his lease and I've been here ever since. And what's crazy now is that I'm paying pretty good price over here. I'm paying maybe like, not including utilities, I'm probably paying like 1,500,
Hmm.
which isn't bad for the
Not at
month.
all. Yeah.
Now these same apartments that are exactly the same as mine, if I was to leave this apartment right now, they would be selling it at the bare minimum
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah. Yeah. For
2,000.
sure. Yeah.
And I've had one of my friends that lives in one over here. He moved out of it a few weeks ago, selling it $2,300 a month,
Mm.
not including utilities. But because I got it back in 2020,
Right.
I'm locked into a contract that says, oh, my rent's only going to go up like $5 or $7 every single year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's on
Yeah.
contract. So they can't change it, they can't void it because that's on
Yes.
contract. Where if I was to leave, they can make a whole new contract for these newer people. And
Hmm.
times are different, so they know what they can charge people now.
Yeah.
So I just can't see myself leaving the spot for because it'd be stupid. It'd be
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
Right? Even
Nah, that's
if I
that.
can afford it, why waste the money? Like, do I need to go and get like another? And like, I have a pretty big apartment as it is. Like, so like, do I need to go get a bigger apartment for what? No
For
reason.
what? Yeah. But I feel like you're on that self-fulfilling prophecy, man, because again, since your big pain points, you've just been speaking out loud what you need and want to occur, and everything that you've been doing as I'm watching it in real time, and those that tune in. And I'm going to recommend everyone to subscribe to you. I followed you on the YouTube. I'll make sure all of the links are in the subject, so that anyone can tap in with you, even if it's your merch links and all that. I want to make sure everyone can really just tap in with
Appreciate you,
you.
bro.
Oh, for sure, with you and what your community is doing, because I really do have a lot of love and appreciation just to be able to observe what you're doing, because I see it becoming exactly what you said, that national and internationally recognized organization. And for sure, you becoming a face, you being the face of it, you'll be able to get it into all these different places and spaces, because your story will resonate with so many people, specifically overseas, because calisthenics is huge overseas. And I have an international group now, based on my TikTok. I got people in South Africa, I got people in Iraq, I
That's
got
it.
people in UK, and I got people that literally have joined my lives, and you can see rubble around them, but they're doing calisthenics. So when you want to talk about people using pain to push them forward, y'all gonna have a hell of a time connecting, man, and you're gonna have a hell of an impact on a lot of people as soon as that content transcends that barrier. And another thing I wanted to recommend to you to do, start translating your videos because you can have
Oh,
it
it's like
now.
I started doing. Are you on Red Note?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm on Red Note, but I wasn't
I
even gonna
started
say
doing that
that.
on
What I
Red
was gonna
Note.
say
Where
is Instagram now has the integration feature. I don't know if you've upgraded your Instagram or if they've even let you know, but I'll let you know. The Instagram has the feature now where they'll translate your videos automatically for you and put the AI voice over it, so you won't even know that it's happening. But there'll be people in other countries, which now gives you again maximum exposure is the name of the game. So now there'll be an audience of people that you never even had access to because even if they saw your video, they would have swiped because you're not speaking their language. But now they'll hear their language. So you not looking like them will be very appealing. And that's the same thing that I'm doing right
how do
now.
I set that up? Is it different than how I do it on Red Note? Because I add them. I video edit
Yeah.
captions in Chinese for Red Note. This is something different on Instagram? You're saying?
It's different. Yeah, it's automatic. I don't know if they're not showing it to you. You might need to upgrade your not upgrade, update your Instagram. And when you go into your either Apple store or Google Play Store, whatever it is, you go into the Instagram app and you go down and you'll see certain options on which version you're using. So maybe it's because I'm running the not the beta test version. So I'm an Instagram tester. So when Instagram has new features, my Instagram account gets access to them before other people because they're getting the data back from me as one of their preferred content creators. I've had meetings with people from Instagram. They've called me up, I've scheduled and they've spoken to me because I guess I reached like a certain point with the exposure of my content because I think we generated over 250 million impressions across Instagram in like 6 months. And that's when I was sitting on Explore page and everyone found me in 2022. So if you're not using the beta tester version, go into the app store and go into your Instagram and you can change it to the beta testing version, and then you'll have access to
And you go through that the
features.
App Store?
Yeah,
You do that? You switch it to a
yeah,
beta test via the App
yeah. I
Store?
did that in the app store. I think I can actually confirm it by going in to look at it right now. I'll look up
I
Instagram.
know I got some notification about edits coming out.
Yeah, I'm
And
on the list for that as well already. Yeah,
I know I'm on the list for that, and I saw some people saying that guy, I forgot what his name, but I think he's the main, not the CEO, but he's the main guy that does features on Instagram. I follow him. I forgot his name. Fuck. What's his name on Insta? He's the guy with glasses and curly hair, older dude. But
yeah.
he works for Instagram. He said something about if you make your video edit, if you use edits instead of CapCut, that your videos
They're
would get
gonna
more
push it
reach.
more. Yeah, 100% because it's the same way that ByteDance is the parent company that owns TikTok. They own music distribution as well that you can sign, like for anyone can sign up for to release music, and they own CapCut and they own Douyin and they own a bunch of other things. But yeah, when I go into my Instagram says Instagram beta. It's backwards,
Really?
but you can see the parentheses around it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that I'm in Instagram beta. So the fact that I did that and I switched to that years ago has also helped me to grow on
And
Instagram.
how do you just do that? You do that specifically in the App Store?
Yeah, I switched over to beta in the App Store. Yeah, I'm updating my
Where do
Instagram
you
right now.
find that? You just go look up Instagram in the App Store and
And just go into it, and when you start scrolling, you'll see the option to switch over to it. I don't
really?
know if they're still offering it. They should be. I've never left beta since I've been in it, but I entered beta in 2021, so I've been in beta. Yeah, and again, if we look at when my growth happened on Instagram, that was 2021, 2022. That was my largest growth period. And then I had another growth period last year where I ended up jumping up into the 50Ks because I think I was at like 40K or 41K, and now I'm at 52K.
I know
So
you
just
have
another
those
10,000.
you had a few hit like a
Oh,
mill.
Oh no, I got 10 million
Oh shit.
views. Yeah, I got videos right now with 10 million views, 6.5 million. I got a couple of videos with 10 million, 6.5 million, 3
Fuck
million, 4 million, 2
yeah,
million,
bro.
1 million. Yeah. My low ends right now are like when I do well, my low end is around 1 million. When I do real well, I'm actually trying to crack the 20 million threshold now because also when you go into the Instagram dashboard, they have it set up where it's like a game. So you get to see the goals that you're hitting, and it gives you little like what are they called? Like weird little they're not real badges or anything, but it looks like a digital badge, like a banner thing. And it's like, you hit 10 million, you hit this is your next goal. And it kind of prompts you to play the game of Instagram. But that, like, literally, it's like a video game for me. All of social media is like a video game for me. And I just had to learn, like, what the control settings were. And then once I learned the control settings and that I could tweak certain control settings, I've gotten really good at content creation and how to maximize it. Because I think right now my views are at 7.4 million in the past 30 days with a reach of how many new accounts? With a reach of 3,929,000 new accounts. And then just to show you like how wild it is for growth on this, even with those numbers, I think I just only gained because I was losing followers for a while. As you gain, you'll always lose when you start to get big because not
Mhm.
everyone's going to agree with the
Yeah.
content, and that's not the name of the game. Is to find your audience. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm now going back up where I'm about to hit the 53,000 mark, but I had dropped back down to 50K. I'd lost thousands and thousands and
It's
thousands of
funny.
followers.
It's funny you say that because literally the 3 weeks, because I've been posting these talking videos for about 3 to 4
Yeah.
weeks now. And when I first started posting them, the first week that I started posting, I dropped down to like I think 20,000. I lost like 3,000 followers, but then literally on week two, I gained another 700. The week
Mm-hmm.
after that, I gained another
Mm-hmm.
1,500. The week after that, I gained another 600.
Mm-hmm.
But in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, I was at 23 and I lost like 3,000 followers. And now I gained them back and I got back up to 23,000. But I literally lost 3,000 followers when I first started doing the talking
Bro,
videos.
this game is a wicked one because people want you to be very one dimensional. But as I tell people when I work with them behind the scenes on brand management, if you aren't capable, ready, willing, or able to show your other dimensions, don't, because it's going to become more of a pain and a sore spot for you because now you feel like, well, how do I be me? So I always tell people you have to move at the beat of your own drum, dance to the beat of your own drum. But I always do then tell people if you have a story, if you have something that'll be able to connect you to the wider audience, because as we were saying, AI is starting to take over. So the only thing left now is genuine human
Yeah.
experience. So now more than ever, leaning into who you are as an individual, what your pain points are, will begin to give you true maximum exposure because so many people are just showing their highlights and everything's all perfect and Krispy Kreme donuts fresh out the oven and no one's eating stale bagels, and that's not reality. That's just it's just not reality. So that's always kind of been my selling point as an individual with my brand is that my brand is based on me as a human having a human experience. KYD is knowing you're damaged. Knowing you're damaged works
I
is
love
my
that
entire
name,
name and
bro.
brand, you know? So I definitely see in you that same potential that I know is in me. And it's just about maximizing it, activating it, and doubling down. Because the more you double and triple down on it, the more you're going to see the true core audience start to build on a global scale, especially on apps like TikTok and Red Note and Douyin, especially if you're using now the AI translator so that your audio will automatically be in Chinese, automatically be in Spanish. So people are just watching and hearing you in their language. This is game changing for us. So just to be on the forefront of this, as they taught me in business school, you really want to make it. It's not about following the trend. It's about spotting the new trend as it's coming into play and jumping on it then. Because I jumped on TikTok in 2019 because I was already on Musical.ly. So that's why I popped the 90K on TikTok. I would have been higher, but I got, again, shadow banned. And that's what made me jump back over to Instagram. Then once the shadow ban lifted on TikTok, I jumped back at. So now I'm not banned on anything and I'm able to use everything the right way, but I also have the information now. And that was the name of the game from day one. I need the information or I won't actually know how to win. I'll just be kind of shooting in the dark, hoping I hit the wall.
You know, I got a question for you, and this is something that somebody asked me. Actually, I posted one of your videos the other day on my story, and it was the video talking about getting revved up when you see other people that want to win that support you. And this guy, he messaged that video and he's just like, yo, you always share this guy's kid stuff. And I see you always doing all these talking videos now. And he asked me a question that kind of caught me off guard, but he was just like, most people I know that say they want to do social media and then start doing it usually give up after a very short amount of time, a few days, because they can't imagine themselves or see themselves making these consistent videos of them talking due to so many negative repercussions of what people might say about them in and around their life or off life, and sending these videos to other people, and those people will be judging them, talking smack in the DMs. And he was just like, how do you and your friend kid deal with seeing the amount of shares on some of your videos? Because a lot for me too, I get a lot of shares on my videos, and I always think it's crazy. Um, because it's just like, how are 400 people sharing this video in a matter of like 15, 20 minutes?
Mhm.
And I never really started looking at my shares till he like brought that up to me. And honestly, I was like, wow, that's crazy. But I didn't feel any type of way about it. So I didn't really know too well how to answer that to him, except for the fact that I don't have a choice in the sense of there are tons of other things in life that I don't want to do, that I know I do not want to do these said things. So even though I won't say that like I necessarily enjoy social media, I enjoy what I'm doing, and social media is a way for me to make a living out of the things I enjoy
True.
doing. But I don't fear the negative repercussions in the sense of people's judgment or what people might say about me in the DMs that I don't know about. So I didn't really know, like, I didn't want to speak for you, so I literally just said that, but he wasn't really satisfied with that answer. So what would you say gives you confidence to go and put yourself out there on a video of you speaking full force, high volume, over and over and over again? Like, would you say you just always had it in you where from the get-go you just didn't care about what anybody else would say or the judgment that you would have? Or would you say that it's the mindset of I have I have everything to lose if I don't take this action, kind of like how I am, in the sense where it's like my family's dead, I'm trying to make a living for myself, and I know I'm not going to go fucking work at a Walmart or become an accountant. So this is my only plan A. Like, there is no plan B. I'm my plan A. So I got to go full force in this. So like, fuck what anybody else says or
Yeah.
thinks. That's kind of how my mentality is. Would you say something similar for you, or would you say something else that caused that confidence or spark that allows you to post video after video of yourself talking? Because I never thought about it, because I don't have that fear. But a lot of people that I've spoken to, because I've started making these talking videos, they'll be like, how do you get over just being able to put yourself? And like, some people are like, I tried filming a video of myself talking, uploaded it, and then deleted it 3 minutes later because I couldn't handle what other people would say about me leaving that video up there. I got embarrassed at what my family would say, or I got embarrassed about what certain friends or my coworkers might say, or might make fun of me at work. And I don't have that fear. So I didn't know what to say to them. So I'm very curious on what your stance on that is.
I definitely sharing that, not caring what people are going to say, because I've already gone through so many strange moments in my lifetime that have forced me to just, look at myself and say, what am I actually holding back for, and or who am I holding back for? After getting out of prison for 3 years from 2010 to 2013, I could tell you a lot of things that I feared were completely out the window. If I even truly ever feared them, I'm not sure. Because when you go to a place where you a grown man being told you got to strip down, then you get hosed down when you first get there, deliced, even if you don't have lice, head shaven, given a number to represent your name, because now you're your DIN number. It changes how you look at things. Having grown men tell you got to bend over and spread your butt cheeks, and this is the COs, because you got to get checked every time you go to a new prison to make sure you're not smuggling contraband. How could you smuggle contraband between your ball sack and your dick? They like, spread your dick, lift your dick, move your balls. And I'm like, that's the most embarrassing shit. You want to talk about embarrassment? I'll be the first one to say, I ain't give a fuck if you was a killer or a gangster. Everyone had to go through that in prison. So all these hardened men and killers and gun-toting drug dealers, big money makers, had to all stand in line, all go in front of correctional officers, and all spread their butt cheeks. How much more embarrassed could you be? So for me personally, once I came home in 2013, I was like, the world is my oyster, and I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. That was point A. Then
Do
I
you
ended
think
up
if you
doing.
didn't experience that you would still, what do you think that if you never had that experience, if you would have had a different perspective on it?
I think I would have still been fearless in regards of media because I was already doing music. I was doing music before I went to prison. I was doing music since like 2003. So I definitely would have still been doing music, and that would have probably led me to the stage to being fearless because that comes with it. You got to get the stage, get your stage legs, as they call it. Um, I don't know how fast it would have happened because I was doing crime at the same time. So before I went to prison, because I was living the actual quote unquote street life, there was a chance that who knows, it could have went in any direction. Something could have happened to me. I might have got injured. I could have got hit. I could have, police beat me to the point that I got scars on my head because they cracked my skull open in Yonkers when I got caught for the joint I went up north for. So I don't know because I didn't get to not go to prison. I do know that it was one of the most profound experiences that I've ever had in my life that till this day has shaped and shifted who and how I am. I literally still eat like I'm in prison. And I catch myself all the time. Like I hover over my food and I block it off with my arms and I eat pretty quickly because I'm like, you got to get it done quick. So that I learned from prison. I don't sleep. I've had insomnia since I was a kid, but I never had insomnia as a kid where I was nervous about anything. That nervousness has never left me since being in prison because of situations that I've been in, because having to defend myself, because there's a level of violence that's kind of always just looming there. That's never left me. So I have a certain level of preparedness now that I don't think I would have had without going to prison. And I have a greater appreciation of the moments that I get to share with people because I went to prison and because I lost people while I was in prison, because my mother got diagnosed with a brain tumor while I was in prison, because I found out I had a son while I was in prison. All of that shaped me to the point that I have such great value for anyone that I form a bond or a relationship with. And I try to truly honor our time and whatever we do to exchange energy. And again, when it comes to me speaking publicly, I did college radio from 2013 to 2016. So I was practicing getting my sea legs this whole time to be an orator. I went to go speak at BET, live television for the first time at 2017. So I've been almost preparing myself for these bigger moments that I'm having now, where I can say like, oh shit, this video went global. Oh shit, this video, like I have videos on TikTok where people have built their whole account stealing my content and the video's got 24 million views. I'm not mad because I'm like, that's 24 million humans that know my face, whether I recognize it or not. They might recognize me. And I literally dealt with it being in Minnesota, going into gas stations and people stop me being like, do I know you? And I'm like, now I'm on guard because me, I'm like, I don't think so. They're like, you be talking about shit online. I was like, what? It's such a weird way to say it. What? So I think we all have to, at some point, if we want to play the social media game, you either have the fuel already, you have the thing that's motivating you already, and then social media just becomes like an outlet for you, or you are strictly looking at it like, oh, okay, I want to get the money, I want the popularity. And I think for those people, if that's the only reason to do it, then you might not be able to get over your own quote unquote fear, which is the false evidence appearing real. What if they judge? What if they do? What if they do? Because the reality is, what if you hit 24 million views and you now build a core audience of people that say, I fuck with you, how you think, how you move, your life experiences. So, I think it's just a coupling of everything that allowed me to become this version of me. From me studying psychology from 2010 to 2016, so I could learn my own mind a little bit better and get over my own traumas and, do better for my community so I could help them to work through traumas because I was, doing peer counseling and all of that stuff. So I just have a lot of practice when it comes to quote unquote being the authentic version of myself. Because I won't pretend. There's definitely a chapter in my life where I was trying to safeguard me from the world to some degree, and I gotta make everything perfect before I post it. And I went through that phase. I don't lie. That's why when I coach people behind the scenes, I don't pull punches. I tell them I was stuck for a while. I was stuck. Like what character do I present to the world? What character is acceptable? What is my family gonna say? But my family abandoned me, so maybe that was the gift in and of itself, that all these pieces in life have lined up to allow me to foster this version of myself. And again, being separated from my children, that's the major driving factor for who and how I am, because I refuse to be a version of me that they wouldn't be getting if they were still around me in real time. Because this is who I am in real life. It's not for the cameras. I don't pull my punches anymore. I don't try to code switch. I'm not trying to placate nobody. It's this is who and how I am. You either accept it or you don't. You will or you won't. But I can't let that be my cross to bear because it literally never was.
Bro, that even so much of what you just said just made me think of so many things, but I feel like the message, especially the part about you being in jail and talking about having, regardless of whether you were a big gangster or you were a big hotshot outside of prison, and just being told, you're a number, you're nothing that's separating you from everybody else, still having to spread your butt cheeks. As silly as it sounds, but like shit like that, I feel like when you're stripped of all your humanity in that aspect, the real world once you're out is nothing's going to be as bad as that, like, so what do you got to fear? And because it kind of made me think about even my own situations, how when I was younger I didn't necessarily have my, granted I had my first girlfriend that passed away. Her older brother is the one that introduced me to her, and he was my best friend, and he died from an overdose before her, and he died in a Jersey City apartment, literally in our arms when we came to see him and his girlfriend. And then I started thinking back to my mom. My mom is the second person that I experienced actually dying in my arms. And I feel like what you just said about being in prison and becoming that number, having to spread in front of the correction officer, it made me specifically think of my former best friend dying in my arms, along with my mom dying in my arms. And I feel like when you have something as traumatic as like going to prison and being forced in that situation, or seeing death in real time, like hearing about somebody died, or a friend that died, or hearing somebody die on the news is totally different than when you can feel the flesh of their body go from warm to cold in real time, in minutes. Like you feel their body's warmth as they're dying in your arms. And then as you're waiting for the ambulance to get here, you can feel that warmth slowly dissipating and it getting colder. Feeling that like lifelessness actually happen. Their brains finally shutting off, their heart's no longer beating, and you could feel that temperature shift. I feel like once you experience like the prison or either something like that of that nature, whose opinions are you caring about? Like at the end of the day,
Literally,
like who is gonna give you more of an impactful feeling than either of those things? Nothing.
literally,
Nothing, bro.
literally. And as
Go
far
ahead.
as the death goes, I've witnessed more death than I'd like to even ever admit. Being outside and then going to prison and watching COs let people die because we're just numbers; they don't matter. One of the worst ones that I witnessed was a cellie that I forgot what the thing is called that you got to get in your arm when you got to get the blood transfusion all the time. Like every day you got to get your blood wash. You put this tube thing in your arm. I never knew what it was because I don't have it. But he had a tube that stuck out of his arm and it was in an artery because he used to have to go to dialysis. That's what it was. He used to have to go to dialysis. And I guess he slipped in his cell and his arm hit the wall and the thing popped out. So he literally started bleeding out in his cell, screaming for help for, this is the saddest part, for about 20 minutes. And I remember the COs because I was in one of the beginning in the cell block in the maximum. I was in Elmira Correctional Facility, it's a maximum. And the CO's bubble there was on the outside of the tier so that if anything happens, they could lock us all in the tier and they're separated from us. So I'm in the beginning cell where there's a gate and then there's the CO bubble next to it. So I hear the COs, they're playing cards,
Yeah.
eating ice cream, literally. And this dude is screaming, bloody murder for help. And then you hear his screams start to get lower and lower. And then you could just hear a whisper. And they literally just tell him to shut up the whole time. They finally are making their rounds to go get him. Then they press the button. Oh, he's got to go to the infirmary. He's literally laying in a puddle of his own blood. The cell is sprayed with blood. His blood was sprayed, so it looks like a fucking murder scene. And they just cart him away, take him to the infirmary, and he's declared dead, I think like 15 minutes after, because obviously you've lost too much blood. They're not really worrying about giving you a blood transfusion. You're not that important. And it just really let me know in that moment that as important as I knew my life was to me and the few people that think I matter, in this place, life don't matter. at all. It don't matter. So yeah, I got so many profound, impactful moments that I've just they live rent free in my mind that I could never be in front of a podcast or an interview and they ask me a hard hitting question and me try to say what I think's gonna sound good. There's too much pain, emotion, and anger that I still carry. I don't care. I don't care because this is all I have. And like I said, God forbid I go today. My kids can watch all my videos and be like, nah, that's my dad. That's my dad. That's that energy. My sons can say, yeah, that's the energy I want to carry because that's my dad's energy. And if I would have pulled the punches and tried to be PC and be worried about, oh, if I told people like the video I went viral got 6.5 million, I said, you can't love me if you don't love if you don't love yourself, you can't love me. And that's a hard fucking pill to swallow. And I said, suck dick the hard way. Shit hit 6.5 million. And then in reshares, it was hundreds of thousands of shares. Why? Because how many people literally can recognize in real time that, yeah, that's right. People didn't love me because they barely loved themselves. How the fuck could you love me?
That's
So
true.
I
Dude,
can't pull
I love that statement a lot because even when it comes to like romantic relationships, even when you're with somebody, you could show somebody all the love and affection in the world, but if they don't love themselves and care significantly about themselves and have a high sense of self-worth, they're not going to be able to appreciate the love that you show them because they're just going to automatically see it as a given, as in something that's just there for a relationship, and they won't be able to give it back in the same way because they won't know how to.
yeah,
Because if you don't know how to show love to yourself, how can you expect to show love to another person?
yeah.
It's just so I love that you said that. That was that was hitting. That one's definitely I like that a lot. I like that a lot. That's a solid one. That's a very
So for
solid
all
one.
content creators, I just implore them to, find your why. I say it all the time. It's a hashtag that I use. Find your why and you'll find your tribe. It's that simple. You found your why years ago. So you literally have a tribe of people that look to you, look to your energy, whether they always give you your flowers or not. I could tell. I see when y'all do y'all photo shoots. I see how certain people look at you. I see it. I study that type of stuff because I'm paying attention. I want to know, like, I hope he got the right people around him. I hope he don't got snakes around him. But you could see it. You could see the love and the adoration that them kids have for you in the videos. And all of that will speak more volumes about who you are as a person before you even open your mouth. To me, because for people that have gone through it, that's the shit we look for. It's not about the shit that you say. It's about what you do and the impact that you have on people. And you have a profound impact on people. I know I have a profound impact on people just because so many have DM'd me to tell me. I wouldn't have believed it before those moments happened. I still have my little moments of self-doubt, inequity, going through depression, bouts of depression, body dysmorphia, thinking I wasn't really worthy of it. I didn't look good enough. I hadn't done enough. I went through all of that. That's why, again, I don't pull the punches and pretend like this was some easy journey to get here. I just have been relentless. And I've always known that this is what I chose for myself. So anything that happens, good, bad, and in between, in my mind, is supposed to because it's part of the journey and it's part of the story.
Dude, facts. Literal facts, bro. It's you have it's like it's a conscious decision, like making to do anything that you're doing or to do anything that I'm doing. You really have to like you can't half-ass any of it. Like for anybody that wants to go out there and create content out there, if you go only like 20 or 30%, it'll be noticeable. People can sniff it out. People can sniff it out when you're just trying to do something for attention and you're just trying to do something for the wrong reasons. It comes off strong in the content.
For sure.
Big time.
For sure. For sure.
Big time.
For sure. For
When
sure.
I remember the first day, I'm very curious because when I first came across you on social media, you had a lot of videos already out of you like talking about your beliefs or opinions, or you just like, showing your personality.
Mm.
But I know that at the time, I don't think you knew I had YouTube because I obviously just told you about that today that I had YouTube, and that's where most of my Instagram following came. So you were just gauging your opinion of me based on maybe my Instagram or TikTok content. And at the time, I think I had maybe one video only on Instagram of that was like 5 minutes of me talking. That was somewhere down the line,
Mm-hmm.
probably like 8 months before I messaged you. So only my talking vids were on YouTube. So what did you expect walking into that first day? Because I remember when after we ended the podcast episode we were doing, I remember you telling me that you were worried that you were going to pop like 3 or 4 questions and I was going to be very shy on camera. So it makes me very interested as like, what were you initially expecting? Like, what type of person do you expect? Because like, I already could tell the type of person that you were, and I already knew in my mind that we were going to connect.
Mhm.
But I had a lot more to go off of from your content than you just had. Obviously, I'm dedicated with discipline and I was strong because of the videos I post,
Mhm.
but mentally you didn't have a lot to go off of. So I feel like you kind of went into, aside from the fact that I obviously had discipline based on the skills I could do, you were more or less taking a gamble, even spending the time to meet up with me, because aside from my discipline and the abilities I had, you didn't really have much to base it off of other than maybe a feeling, where I had all these videos that I watched of you and I already knew the type of mentality, and obviously I know myself, so I knew we were going to
Yeah.
click. But you didn't have that same, oh, I know we're going to click, because you had nothing to base it off of except for the
I
abilities.
mean, the ability that someone that's been doing martial arts and going to like structured gymnastic classes to try to get a better foundation in like just pure gymnastics and then street calisthenics with certain groups, and then again studying psychology from 2010 2016 without hearing you talk or watching any talking points. I was able to get a mini psych profile on you because there's no one that's in this industry that has a group of people that doesn't have some form of oration skill. That's point A. So I literally already knew that you were a speaker. I just didn't know how efficient or proficient you were going to be as a speaker, and I didn't know if you had already practiced for like the podcast setting. But I didn't have any nervousness to the sense that like I had no reservations and I had no expectations. I just knew that there was a possibility from experience from interviewing people that I didn't choose. And I was like, they didn't do well on camera. This person does not carry conversation. This person actually doesn't have a life story that is interesting. So I was like, it's not shade. I knew that you had a story to tell because I've not once in my life met a dedicated athlete that didn't have a story to tell. And that's just me working as a coach. That's me working as a trainer. And then that's me having the little bit of psychological background that I have to be able to gauge what I'm seeing from your content. And I was like, nah, he got to. That's why I told my business partner Nick, the one that was there, the Italian guy that was there, because he had nervousness, he had doubt. I had none. I was like, no, I want this guy here. We're bringing him here. That's the guy. I fuck with him and his team. He was like, why? I was like, I can't explain it to you, bro. It's not going to resonate with you. I'm like, you're not going to get it. So I didn't know how well you'd be able to present, but I knew you'd be able to present. And I was just grateful when you got there that you were who you were. Like I was right. It just affirmed. I was like, all right, you were right yet again. I was like, you had your little checklist. You thought you knew what you were talking about. He proved that you were right. So I had no reservations about you. I just hoped that you lived up to what I was imagining in my mind, and you surpassed it. You surpassed it.
I
Because I didn't have an
appreciate
expectation. I
that,
was going to
bro.
be okay with however you presented, but I was hyping you up in my mind. I was like, nah, son is a rock star. Like he's out here getting crazy. He's got a squad already. He's built a team. He's coaching people. So again, as far as communication and interpersonal skills, I knew you had that. No one could have ever convinced me that you didn't because I was watching enough of your content to know, oh nah, he's got it. Like he's carrying the golden ticket, whether he knows it or not. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to be able to capture part of your story and have that in-depth conversation with you because that's what Rise of the Lost is for me. It's finding the people that whether they're super popular online or not, they've literally built something that is worth being showcased. So if I did have the ability to showcase people and create viral moments, then that was going to be my goal. Win, lose, or draw, I would love to see your videos do millions and millions of views because they fucking deserve it. The same way when I sat down with that kid and said, hey, I'll do your podcast. And then he said, will you do a full series with me? Because he was like, you were right. We're going viral. I was like, I know. This is what I do. I saw him and I said, you deserve it until he did things that allowed me to say, you don't anymore. I can't. But
That.
at first, I got to judge people off of how they're carrying themselves and the way you were carrying yourself publicly and the way people were moving with you. Even when you popped up with your team, like They have such, bro, the way they were looking, I would always glance over, the way they were looking at you during that interview, that was pure, genuine
I
love,
only
bro.
knew them for a few weeks at the time. Funny story is that after that night, so I only knew them for maybe like a few months at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
They were both fairly new to me, and so when I asked them to come with me to the podcast with you, they thought that you and me knew each other for years.
Hilarious.
So
Hilarious.
they were texting each other in the back of my car when I was driving there, and they didn't tell me this till after I brought them home after. But they were like, yeah, we were both low key panicking and we're on the way there to New York because you first said you were bringing us to the Bronx. And we know the Bronx is like part of Bronx that, because lived in the
Right,
Bronx
right,
with
right,
my early,
right.
and the Bronx that I knew too was like very
Mhm.
hood like. So I told them we were going to the Bronx because that's what I expected. And when we got to the Bronx, to your area of the Bronx, they were texting each other saying, didn't he say we were going to like the Bronx and the hood? This doesn't look like the hood. This looks like a nice area. He's totally kidnapping us. He's bringing us somewhere, and they were literally making like a getaway plan of how to escape via text, and they didn't tell me till like after I brought them home the next day. But they were like, "Yeah, we thought that when we saw that you didn't bring us to the hood like you said you were bringing us to the hood, we thought you were there to kill us with a whole bunch of people or sell us into human trafficking." And we were like
Mhm.
trying to plan a getaway, and we were terrified.
That's
And I was like,
hilarious.
"What?"
Well, we were on the water. You did come into a little private community. We were on the water, so I couldn't see why I would have thrown them off. Because every time I tell people that my studio in the Bronx is on the water, their first thing is, "The fuck do you mean? There's no on the water in the Bronx." I'm like, "But there is where we're at."
In their defense, they did only know me for 4 months, and they
Right.
knew nothing about my life story. They learned it all with you.
Yes, yes, yes.
So we just saw each other at the gym, and then Olivia was training with me, and Ben would talk to me at Kingdom, and I was like, "Oh, want to come do this podcast?" Because Liv had her car accident, so I was like, "It'll be good for the episode." But yeah, they were very worried
That's
driving up there,
hilarious.
and
That's
I had no
hilarious.
idea.
Well, then
So
they
I'm
must
just
have been
blasting
falling in love
music.
with you in real time, bro. Because as you were telling your story and I looked over at them, like the way they looked at you, it was nothing but like respect, love, and adoration that I was getting from them, bro. Like literally, that's all. And even when Liv sat down to talk, all they really seemed to have was nothing but rave reviews and positive energy. So it was just all affirmation of who and how you are. It just nobody could tell me nothing about you because I was seeing it in real time. And that's not something that, like you said, you can't buy that. You can't buy that. You can't buy someone to give you looks when no one's looking. Like that's them just having internal moments of being like, yo, that's my guy. Like that's our leader type shit. And it was definitely powerful for me because it let me know that there are people that are doing the work and they just might not have maximized their exposure yet. Because that's the name of the game, maximum exposure. Because the more of it that you get, the more of an impact you're going to be able to have on the people, and specifically because you work with the youth. Like that shit alone is golden ticket, bro. Like you deserve all the flowers in the world because to give any kid a skill set is to give them an opportunity. Period.
You know, now that you say that, thinking about, because I definitely have certain answers for myself, but I'm curious for you because neither of us had a father figure that we could look up
Mhm.
to. So what would you say growing up? What would you say was the closest thing to a positive role model in a male form that you had?
Shit, positive. That's the question. I don't think I had
It
a.
doesn't need to even be a person. Like I,
Oh,
I would say for me, it
anime
was
then.
Yusuke from Yu Yu
And I'm
Hakusho.
gonna say anime then, because it definitely wasn't no humans. Because the guys in my life, my cousins and them was beating the shit out of me. I had a bully, and my cousin would beat me worse than the bully because I didn't beat the bully up. My uncles had me sitting in the car during drug deals, so they were definitely positive. Like there were great positive moments. There was love, there was hugs, there was gifts bought and all of that. But then there was all the other shit that went along with it. So that the actual pure positive, like, this is the way of life, this is how you should be, this is your moral compass and goal. That was coming from shows like Dragon Ball Z and Trigun with Bash the Stampede and what was it? Hakusho was definitely a big one for me because I was most definitely watching that in the 90s, 100%. Like Spirit Gun.
Yusuke was like my main just because he had no dad. He had the alcoholic mom.
Yes,
He was a outlaw at the kid. Nobody liked him at school. I literally, growing up, I told myself when I was fat and ugly, I was just like, this character, I'm gonna do everything possible to make myself be this character, adopt his personality, and over time, it might not happen overnight, but I remember when I first finished watching the entire show, I was like, I'm gonna make my life and my personality into this character, and then slowly over time it kind of happened accidentally, where even now I'll catch myself saying things in public and I'll be like, that's something that Yusuke would say or do. And I've literally just like adopted his whole mentality and his like grittiness to him.
yeah,
Would you say that there was any specific character for you? You say Dragon Ball Z. So when you say Dragon Ball Z, I automatically thinking of like Piccolo more than Goku, or maybe even Vegeta more
Vegeta
than
for
Goku.
sure. Vegeta. For sure, Vegeta. Because at first it was Goku, but then once the Majin Buu saga came and Majin Vegeta was
With
introduced,
Trunks
that
and him,
resonated
yeah.
with me in ways. Hence why, like, I got Majin hats sitting over here right now. I literally got it's in my merch shop. So
Oh
in
yeah.
my link in my bio, you can literally buy a Majin hat right now because that's had one of the deepest impacts on me, even from a very young age. My uncle was a Golden Gloves boxer. Rest in peace to my uncle Horst. That's Ronald. My little brother who passed away was named after him. He passed away when I was 5. My dad left when I was 5, but my uncle was more of a father figure to me. And when I saw what Vegeta was willing to do, even though he had used his anger and his rage to power up and become the strongest version up to that point of himself, it was when he realized how much love he had within himself for the people that he cared about, that he was willing to sacrifice himself. That moment has replayed in my mind since I was a little kid, that you have to be willing to sacrifice yourself. And I didn't conceptualize it as if I needed to actually die. I just started thinking that there was things in me that needed to die. And I was thinking like that since I was a little kid. I don't know if it's like just the way my brain is wired, but I was having very long deep conversations with myself since I was a child because I couldn't have certain conversations with any person. So yeah, I definitely would say Vegeta, but more specifically Majin Vegeta.
Oh yeah, I can vibe with that. I instantly I thought about that same instance you spoke of, is Vegeta sacrificing himself and like having that whole moment with Trunks, as you know, and then his death ended up being for nothing anyway because he survived. But that was the first like real showing of the Vegeta like fatherly
Yes,
bond moments
yeah.
that we didn't get to see before. So that was a nice touch for sure.
And I think I wanted to be Trunks in that moment. If I'm being honest about like the kid in me watching it, it was
That
Vegeta, but I think I realized that I wouldn't be mad if that was my dad. And I was like, oh, that would be okay if my dad would have done that. I was like, I'd be Trunks. I'd be Trunks.
Yeah, how you felt about that is how I felt with Yu Hakusho. With even though Yusuke didn't have his dad near the end of the series in the last arc, he met his like demon great 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 great
Yes,
grandfather, which is where he got his demon
yes.
blood, and he was kind of just like a Vegeta-esque character, but a little bit more ruthless. And I had that same type of moment that you described. It's just like, this would be cool to have like a
Right.
great 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 grandpa that I could look up to, that showed me where I got some of my grit from, because I definitely didn't see it from anybody in my side of the family, male
I
wise.
get that.
The closest was my uncle, but my uncle, he died very early on when I was a kid, so I didn't know much about him except that he liked a lot of hentai. Bro, it was
Don't
it
we
was
all?
wild. When
Don't we all?
I was a little kid, and he lived with my grandma. Whenever we'd go to my grandma's house, he had literally his whole room. He'd always would be with some Asian girl in my grandma's apartment. There would always be some like half naked Asian girl just sleeping on his bed, and he'd have hentai posters all the time. And then I'd go into his room. The girl would be there half naked, and he's like, "Oh, you want to watch Dragon Ball Z?" And he'll put Dragon Ball Z on the TV, and I watch it there. Meanwhile, there's like this half naked Asian girl sitting on his bed next to him.
I love it. I had one more written question because obviously I like the free flowing conversation, but I did have one which is It doesn't have to be the closer at all, but it was intended to be the closer because it's speaking to the impact, vision, and purpose that you as an individual have. If Bar Sharkz disappeared tomorrow, what legacy would you hope lives on?
Like specifically like in Bar Sharkz or just in
In
general?
general, because it's you. You know, you have impact, like I said, on human beings, like true impact. You have vision and you have purpose. So if Bar Sharks as just like a brand for whatever reason, God forbid, just disappeared, what legacy would you hope would live on coming from Bar Sharks? Like if there was an anime world and like some villain came and wiped out the Bar Sharks, but the legacy, the story, the legend, like the Z Fighters in Dragon Ball Z, like they became legendary. What legacy would you hope lives on?
I would like if Bar Sharkz ended tomorrow and like I was to let's say I even died. We're all wiped out. Anybody associated with us is wiped out. I would say that I would like people, or at least the legacy of just like the aspect of being able, regardless of how bad something is, that you could always still find a way if and when you choose to make the effort. Like, I don't want to say that I want people to just, oh, like anything's possible, believe in yourself. Because like it takes hard work. Like overcoming anything serious takes significant hard work, effort, long nights, constant daydreaming about it, constant thinking about it, constantly trying different little things to see what works, what sticks, what doesn't. So I would say that the legacy of just knowing that even when things seem bad at your darkest moments, that no matter what, there will be a way out if you choose to look outside of the box and see it. That's what I would want people to take away with it. That, regardless of what's going on in your life or your circumstances, just knowing that you can figure some way or some solution to get out of the mess that you're in. And that's what I would want people to take away from it and know that regardless of what they're going through, that they can improve, they can get stronger, they can gain confidence in themselves to overcome, and that they don't have to be a statistic
Hmm,
of somebody that falls victim to their circumstances.
that's powerful. You don't have to be a statistic. That's powerful because that's a choice. That's a choice for sure. And the choices you don't make will be made for you.
Yeah. I mean, even like with what you said before, like I'll bring it back to the present moment and spreading your cheeks and, just being that number. That if you look at everything at a much more grand perspective, like outside of prison or even just outside of America or outside of the country, like we're all just we're a small little aspect of the world.
Mhm.
And if I die tomorrow, you die tomorrow, sure, the people that love and care about us will be affected to a degree, maybe even a very large degree. I'm sure we both have people that genuinely would probably be fucked up in the head if we passed away tomorrow. But on the grander scheme of things, outside of our loved ones and the people that know about us, the rest of the states, the rest of America, the rest of the countries, the rest of the world is going to keep on spinning. It's going to keep on moving. And when you take a step back and look at everything from that giant perspective on how big the world is, I feel like that also does a good job of eliminating what you and me talked about before with not caring about what other people think, not having the fear. Like the world is so big and we're a body of meat on top of bones, a skeleton. And even like I think about it driving all the time. I'm sitting there driving my car, driving to a client's house or driving to teach my kids. And I'll be like, looking at an outside perspective, outside of the car, it's just like a meat stick with bones in a big box driving really fast down the highway. We're literally a freaking skeleton in a round big box going super fast on a long road with other big boxes filled with skeletons and meat.
Hmm.
Like that's all we are at the end of the day. Like that's all we are. Um, this also really hit me too. Like I'm not really religious. I wouldn't say I'm spiritual either. I will say I do believe in some type of higher power, but I won't identify that higher power with any religion like Buddhism or like Christianity or Judaism or Muslims. I wouldn't like identify what I believe to fall into the category of any religion. I kind of just believe that there is a higher power, but I believe that us as humans will never be able to fully comprehend what that higher power is, no matter how much we try or
Mhm.
want to. I will believe that it will always be out of our control and always out of our sight. However, I do believe that, you know, regardless of whatever we choose to believe, I do think that whether I agree with somebody else's perspective on what God is or what the higher power is, I believe that that higher power kind of treats us all the same way in the grander scheme of things. And I also think that what we do in terms of energy can make or break us as well as shape the people around us. Like energy is contagious.
Mhm.
And I think that you and me having this conversation, like I can feel it right now, like through the screen, like you have that supportive, positive energy. I have that supportive, positive energy when we're exchanging words and energy through this screen right now. And even just from this talk with you, I feel in a sense more motivated to work harder. And that's not something that I can get from every single
Mhm.
person. Um, like when it comes to you specifically, or even like my friends like Zach that I have that I mentioned, you, him, and like a few others are probably maybe like one, you and him, or maybe two of five or six people that every day when I wake up, no matter what, when I wake up, when I first check social media, whenever it is, usually probably like after I brush my teeth, make coffee, whatever, I'll sit and like spend 15 minutes on social media. I'll check your Instagram, I'll check Zach's Instagram, and then a few other people that I haven't mentioned. But I'll check their Instagrams on the daily. And like whenever I see something new that you posted, I'll watch it. You know, I'll like it, I'll save it so it gets the interaction, and then I'll share it to my story. But I'll do that on the daily where I'll check to see if you guys posted anything new because I get that same boost of motivation and energy from your content. Even if your content's not specifically meant to be motivational, but just you can see the passion and the effort that you put into it and that exchange of energy, even if it's not meant to, it's also uplifting for me. And I feel like something like that is so priceless because some people's energy is so negatively draining in the worst ways possible, where it sucks the life out of you and makes you want to be less productive. But with
Mhm.
people like you or my friend Zach, I get this motivation from it that makes me want to work harder. Like I'm already, even in this conversation, I'm already thinking about stuff I'm gonna film and edit tomorrow. Um, and just the things that we talked about has triggered certain other topics of that I could do. Like I already have a video outlined in my head from just having this conversation with you of what I'm gonna talk about in this video because of the stuff we talked about today. And
Love it.
that's so rare because certain people you really can just talk to and they're just literally like, I wouldn't say a statistic, but they're so surface level that you couldn't find a deep thought in their head if you were to like really look for years. Like some people really are just blank. And I think about how people, I remember I found this out recently. I don't know if I still don't believe it or not. I kind of don't believe it's possible, but now I'm kind of starting to think it is that not everybody has an internal
Oh
monologue.
no, that's
Um,
completely true.
yeah,
We study that in
that blows my
psychology.
that
That's
blows my
completely true.
mind.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to fully believe it after I've really spoken to certain people and tried to get with them on a deeper level and tried to spark conversation with them and to like get more emotion out of them or just more of a deep thought out of them. And then I haven't been able to, where they're just so cut and blank dry. Like I had a client recently, like a client that I actually turned down training, and I was asking them what their hobbies and what their interests were. And they were just like, oh, like I like working out. I want to get into calisthenics. And I was like, all right, but like, what do you like? Do you like any shows or like interests? You like reading? You like any anime? You like any favorite movies or TV shows? And he's like, oh, I'll just like, I'll watch what's on TV if I turn on TV, and maybe I'll turn it on once a night for like a few hours and I'll watch something. And I was like, what do you go to? And he's like, I just surf the channels. And you know, when I see something that catches my eye, I'll leave it on and I'll watch it. And I was like, what do you mean you just surf the channels? You don't like instinctively like turn on the TV and it's like, all right, like if I'm turning on the TV, it's either I'm going to a specific podcast that I want to watch or a specific self-improvement something. Or like I have friends that do podcasts that I watch that I feel like I always gain something from. And some of them, like I have friends that do a dating podcast, but the perspectives that they gives, it almost gravitates from dating into like business because they're all entrepreneurs and they
Mm-hmm.
just happen to have a dating podcast. So I feel like the dating podcast is like a cover up, so more people watch it, and then they kind of get sucked into learning more about business
Mm-hmm.
as like a little extra. So like I'll watch that, or like I'll have an anime that just came out that I want to watch that I heard about, or I'll rewatch an episode of an older anime or rewatch an older anime because I feel like I can always gain something new from it. So the fact that somebody said that they have no idea at all what they would watch on TV and they're solely just turning the TV on to surf the channels blindly without having any type of direction was so mind-blowing to me, and I was so dumbfounded by it. Like I could never imagine turning on the TV and being like, "Oh, let's browse the basic cable. Oh, no, I don't want to take this. Let's go to the next channel. Let's just boom, boom, channel, waiting for something to catch my eye. Like, what am I expecting to catch my eye? Like, that's just so, like, I get that people only had basic cable back in the day, which I'll give you, yeah, there was an excuse back then, but even back then, it'd be like I'd go to Cartoon Network because I knew that I was going to find some type of anime on there, or Adult Swim, or I'd go to, the ESPN because I knew I was maybe going to see skateboarding, or I'd see boxing or Muay Thai kickboxing on there, or I'd go on to, I forgot what it was called, but there was like this indie movie channel where they would play movies like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or Lost in Translation, or Train Spotting, or Requiem for a Dream, and they would only play those types of movies, those indie movies. Like I loved Requiem for a Dream, and that's how I discovered Requiem.
For
I love
sure.
Train Spotting. That's how I
For
found
sure.
that
You
from
ever
that
saw
indie
Kids?
movie channel.
Have you
Huh? Kids,
seen
yeah.
Kids?
Kids
For
was a good
sure.
one.
For sure. For
Fucked
sure.
up, but
Fucked
it was
up.
a good one.
Fucked up.
STD Central, bro. STD
Oh shit.
Central.
That was the movie that inspired me to, after every partner since I was a teen, well, not a teen, I want to say yeah, teenagers when I started going to clinics. And I was like, I need to get tested because I don't want AIDS. And it was like, what? And I would be like, I just was with someone. I don't want AIDS. They were like, well, if you have it, you have it. I was like, nah, I need you to test me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Kids messed me up. Kids messed me up. What do you have any hot takes when it comes to the fitness industry?
I mean, a lot. I mean, I guess this is kind of a hot take, but I'll be a firm. Depending on your goals, I actually no. Regardless of what your goals, I'll say this can go both ways. For either somebody that doesn't do fitness at all, like they're just looking to start working out, and they're getting overwhelmed or intimidated at the idea of fitness. And I'll also say this can apply to really, really advanced people of a high fitness level. I'll say that I would say the only people that are excluded from this statement are intermediate level people,
Mhm.
but I would say this applies to anybody who's beginning and anybody who's at the highest level possible in terms
Mhm.
of fitness. They'll both benefit from this. And this would probably be the hot take where 2 to 3 days for both a beginner or an advanced level, high level athlete in any type of fitness, regardless of what sport you're in, will be a lot better and perform at a higher level than somebody that trains 4 to 5 or even 6 days a week. And
Mm.
as I've done this I've been training clients for 10, 12 years
Mhm.
now. I train probably like over 200 to 300 adults every year.
Mhm.
Some stay with me. Some, my goal is to give them to knowledge so they don't need me anymore. I'm not trying to keep clients forever. Some clients have stayed with me for like 8 to 10 years because they just like it and they see me as like, because of what I've gone through, they look to me advice on certain things, especially if they haven't experienced the things that I've gone through, knowing that they will see their loved ones pass away. So being around me, they get something from out of it. So that's why they train with me.
Mhm.
Um, but from my experience training so many clients, both kids and, like I said, this doesn't apply to intermediate people. So people that are above beginner, but they're not advanced, I would say this wouldn't work for them. But for beginners and advanced exclusively, dude, I would even say 2 upper body days, 1 lower body day. That's all you need as a beginner, and that's all you need as an advanced athlete. Because you got to think about it. When you're at the highest level possible, your training is going to be hard. Your training is going to be very, very difficult. So if I'm going and I'm training and I'm doing pull-ups, 3 to 5 pull-ups with 345s around my waist, that's 135. That's a small person. That's a small adult male. And that's like a girl and a half, like a young adult girl, woman, and then some added around my weight for multiple pull-ups. Then I'm doing that for multiple sets. That's going to put a heavy toll on my body. Same thing with dips, 3, 4 plate dips. That's 135 to 180 pounds around my waist, plus my body weight. So if I weigh 178 pounds, plus another 135 pounds, that's almost a 300-pound pull-up, plus almost a 300-pound dip.
Mm-hmm.
That's going
Mm-hmm.
to take a toll. And if you think you're going to recover from that and achieve optimal performance, working out the next day, as well as working out the next day after that, and working out the next day, and then you think you're still going to progress in a linear fashion, you're absolutely no shot. It's not going to happen. And I see it all the time where people are like, how do you only train your upper body twice a week, but you keep getting stronger? And they'll be like, I work out 4 to 5 days a week and I'm nowhere near as strong as you, but you only train 2 days a week. And it's like, yeah, because my training is so intense and so hard that I need 2.5 to 3 days after my one training
Recovery.
day of my upper body to recover. Because if I don't do that to recover, then I literally am not going to keep getting stronger in a linear fashion. And even sometimes with those rests, I'll still need an extra fourth day to recover. So in that sense, if I still feel like I need a fourth day to recover, I'll do legs that day. And then the next day after legs, I'll train upper again.
Mm-hmm.
Because technically the 3 days of rest with the leg day, that would be 4 days of rest. And I also, this is how I train all my clients. I kind of pulled a little bit ideology from the conjugate method of training, if you know anything about West Side Barbell's method.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of tweaked it and made my own. So this is my workout schedule every single week. It's legs one day, 2 upper body days, but the upper body days are always going to be different but the same. So one day is going to be 5 sets for dips, push-ups, and pull-ups, higher reps, as many reps that I can do, but the key is without letting go of the bar. So my
Mm-hmm.
first set might be 26, 27 pull-ups without letting go. My next set, because I'll be a little fatigued, I'll rest 5 minutes, it might be 25. My third set might be 22. My fourth set might be 17. My last set might be 12.
Yeah.
And then I'll do that same thing for dips and push-ups. And that's literally my upper body day. And every week, I'll still keep that same one high rep day of body weight, but I'll rotate the movement itself with the same movement. So for this week, for example, this week was chin up for both my heavy day and high rep day.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, it'll be the pull up for heavy day and high rep day. Next week will be the vertical. So chin up, underhanded, pull up, overhanded. And then the other week is vertical grip, like the two handles.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is that prevents overuse
Mm-hmm.
injuries, which allows you to keep having 3 different PRs for your high reps for all 3 of those pulling motions. And then the other day throughout the week, like I have the one high rep day, it's a heavy day. So I'll do anything between 3 to 5 reps for 3 to 5 movements of the pull up, the dip, and the push up. Weighted push up, weighted dip, weighted pull up. And it'll only be 3 to 5 reps for 3 sets. And then I'll do 3 sets after that, but of 1 rep. So I'll do 3 sets of 1 with the heaviest weight I can do imaginable with good form, chin above the bar, 3 second pause at the top, go to the bottom, never dropping off early, always
Yeah.
getting the full lockout to get the full benefit of the negative. And I'll do 3 sets of 1 for the dip, the pull up, and the push up with as much weight as possible. After I do that, then I do 3 sets of 5, heaviest weight I can do possible for only 5 reps. Then after that, 3 sets of 3, heaviest weight I can do possible for only 3 reps. And the key of what I've been doing is that every week, because I rotate the movements, I'm still doing pull-ups, but it's just a different form of pull-ups, whether pull-ups, chin up, or vertical. And even with the dip, I'll do regular dips,
Yeah.
vertical, then I'll do the straight bar dips,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I'll do the Korean dips, which is behind the
Yes.
back.
Yes. Yes.
And I rotate. So I have 3 different PRs for my dips for high reps, 3 different PRs for my pull-ups for all different grips, and then I have 3 different PRs for each of them for the heavy weighted day because I do those same movements for the heavy weighted day. Like I do heavy weighted Korean dips, heavy weighted pull-ups. But every week on the heavy and high rep day, I rotate the selection of variation of either exercises. So I'm never getting injured because I'm never doing the same variation of pull-up, dip, or push-up in a row
Yeah.
more than 1 week. And because of that, I set myself, when I first started this, I only set the goal of increasing the weight by 2.2 pounds, which doesn't seem like a lot.
No, it does.
Most people would be like, 2.2 pounds, that's nothing. You're not going to get
Yeah,
strong.
you will.
It's nothing in the beginning. But the key with 2.2 pounds is that every week, no matter what, 99.9% of the time, you will be able to do an extra 2 pounds. No matter what, chance of you doing an extra 2 pounds only, you'll be able to get it done. But if I said I want to do an extra 5 or an extra 10, I might not get it
Yeah.
that next week.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do an extra 20, I might not get it that next week. And because I'm rotating the movements, I'm changing it, avoiding overuse, adding an extra 2 pounds, and it might not seem like a lot in the beginning, but when you keep this style of training for over a year, that accumulates to an extra 45, an extra 50, 60
Yeah.
pounds. You keep that for 2 years, that's an extra 120 pounds. And you're accumulating it slower, and also because you're rotating the movements, you're eliminating the potential chance of injury. And because it's only 2 days a week, I do a high rep day on Monday, rest my upper body for the next 2 to 3 days, or maybe only 2 days. I do the next one that day. Most of the time, I'll rest for 2 days, and then I'll do a leg day on that third day, so I have 3 days of solid rest, and then I'll hit my heavy upper body day. Or some days I might start with the heavy upper body day, 2 days of rest, 1 leg day, and then I'll do the high rep day after that. So that way, there's at least 3 to 4 days of resting my upper body, so I can make sure I guaranteed have that 2.2 pound increase to make sure I progress every single week. Like, I didn't like the whole ideology of only progressing a little bit over time and having to play guessing games and be like, oh, I feel good this week. Oh, I did stuff differently this week, and now I didn't do good this week. Next week I'll try again. Oh, I got a little bit better this week, but the next 2 weeks I didn't get a
Right.
PR. I like seeing linear progress.
Yes.
And linear progress is so hard to do. And that's something in fitness that a lot of people advocate and say, progress isn't linear. Progress isn't linear. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have ups and downs. And yes, that is true, but you can break things down so much to the point where you can avoid not having linear progression.
Yes.
I think, in my personal opinion, I think having linear progression is much more ideal because it gives you tangible metrics that you can see in real time consistently. But for the average person, linear progression is very unrealistic because certain people will fall off their diet, certain people will fall off their workout regime. But if you have the goals of being a trained professional athlete, or even you just want to progress consistently at your training, I think you should do everything possible when making your program to make sure you can have as much linear progression as possible.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easily doable as long as you're able to stick to a structured program and have the ample amount of rest and nutrition.
I agree with everything you just said, 1,000%. And that's just coming from me working in the fitness field as well since 2013 and exiting it, at least on a professional level in the gyms in 2020, March 16th, when the gym shut down. Progressive overload will always be my favorite style of training. I don't care if it's calisthenics or weightlifting, if you're a bodybuilder. If you follow a progressive overload regimen where you're really tracking your progress and you're doing incremental increases, then 1,000%, because that's definitely how I train my clients. Specifically because I had at one point a huge group of silver sneakers people that I was training, so I was 65 and up, and you can't overload them.
What is that?
Silver sneakers is 65 and up. So when, like, if you're working in New York in the gyms, they'll have like the silver sneakers program, and it's all people that are 65 and up. I was working for TSI for a while, New York Sports Club, and my mentor was Dwayne Gordon, who used to play for the New York Jets back in the day. And I don't know how he ended up at Sports Club, but he was my boss, and he took me under the wing. And funny enough, another chapter in life while I was homeless, 2017 before my daughter was born, and I was living in my car, and I was literally, and I was showering at the gym. I was going to the gym as soon as they would open up before any clients would come in. I would shower, I get my workout in, shower, put on my uniform. And Dwayne Gordon, because he saw my potential and already knew how much knowledge I had, he was like, I want you to work for me. So I didn't even tell him I was homeless at first. And then by like week 3, once we had built up, maybe week 4, we built up more of a relationship. I told him I was homeless, and he ain't had no pity for me. He ain't talked down to me, none of that. He said, you one of my top guys, but I feel like you're still not really giving it 100%. So he said, I'll tell you this. For every person you sign on for a 12-pack, and that's the people that would do 12 sessions a month, because we had like 4-pack, 6-pack, 8-pack, 12-pack. He's like, that's the maximum of 12. He said, every time you sell a 12-pack, I'm going to give you $100 cash on top of the fact that you're getting your bonus and blah, blah, blah. He said, because I already get it. I get it. I see you. I understand what you're going through. When I tell you that day I sold 312s, that day I sold 312s. Because sometimes it just takes people knowing that you have the potential and tapping you and saying, let me give you a little bit of sauce so you could really maximize your exposure, like I keep talking about, and maximize the effort. So yeah, he had me learning. That's when I first learned the FMS system, functional movement systems, that was being implemented and still being implemented until this day for a lot of D1 and D2 athletes. So the majority of my training program and style is the initial intake, finding any potential injuries that a person may have, because I'm a quote unquote recovery specialist. And then I'd run them through FMS for the first 4 weeks to make sure that their foundation was extremely strong. So being able to do inline lunge, being able to do a full squat with no weight without your heels coming off the ground, being able to do certain balancing routines, like when you're in not the cat cow position, but on all fours, and then one leg goes out, one arm goes out opposite, seeing if people teeter totter, and then just observing posterior and anterior chain and seeing what initial tweaks need to be made so that when we do start the strength and conditioning program, you will literally have maximum results regardless of where you were when you first came to me, because we've now solidified the foundation, which for majority of people is what they're lacking, is just a basic foundation.
Dude, where did D1 or D2 come from? Like the actual, like who decided, or like where's that origin? Like I never understood where that name came from. And I was thinking
Um,
about that as you were talking about it. I was just like, why is it, does D stand for anything?
division 1, division 2.
Oh, that's crazy because I genuinely didn't know that.
Yeah, division 1, division
That
2.
ass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've always wondered that my whole life, when somebody be like, "Oh, somebody's a D1 athlete or a D2 athlete." I genuinely didn't
Three
know that.
divisions: D1, D2, D3.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's You learn something new every day. I know I've always felt silly asking that to somebody, but I've never did, and it's just like you said it, so I was like, I have to ask him.
You'll be shocked how many people don't know, and they just say it because it's part of the American lexicon. Like, he's a D1 athlete, he's a D1 football player, he's a D1.
Dead ass. I now that you said division, it's like I should have realized it meant division, but I never would have thought of it on my own if you didn't say it.
Yeah. Now, on a
Damn.
personal level, it's a question that just kind of popped into my head because I know we were talking about relationships earlier. I know someone, talking about myself, as I pursue next level of personal greatness, next level of personal development, next level of success in life and in career pursuit, it seems to be hard to foster true relationships, not like business friendships, but interpersonal, like love life relationships. It seems to be, for me, not always the easiest thing to do. Have you found on your personal journey that it's harder or hard in general to not only enter the relationship, but then maintain it and balance a relationship and your career?
So, oh man, you just started a good conversation we're about to have, bro. Um, so yes and no. I think I told you back in the day when we had our first episode how I was still in love with my ex-girlfriend Vanessa. And how pretty much she broke up with me when my family died, and that's how I saw it in the beginning, not realizing that she didn't break up with me when my family died. she left me because I wasn't allowing her to be there for me, and I was pushing her away, making myself kind of cut off emotionally and not treating her in the best way that I should have been treating her, that caused her to leave me.
Mm.
And then I started dating a new girl in which she came back to me and wanted to be with me, and to make her upset and spite her, because at the time I saw it as, you left me when my family died, you're the bad guy. I chose to stay with the new girl to get back at her, when in reality I didn't want the new
Mm.
girl. I wanted to get back with her. But my mind, I was still in the moment of like, oh, you broke up with me when my family died.
Yeah.
And obviously, as time progressed, I realized, oh, that's not the case, um, and that I should have taken her back. After I had the podcast episode with you, I did end up reaching out to her finally, and we became friends again. So even though she still had her new boyfriend, me and her became friends. We would talk frequently, and everything was going great. I obviously was still in love with her. She knew I was still in love with her. So there's nothing, nothing hiding about that. And then recently, this is where I fucked up again. So 7 months ago, I matched with a girl on Tinder that I was really attracted to.
Mm.
And this girl, she seemed pretty cool. We started talking. I followed her on Instagram, and I noticed that she was mutual friends with my ex that I was still in love with. And I was like, that's weird. And I was gonna ask my ex about it, and I was like, yeah, there's no reason to try. I should have to
Right.
ask her. I mean, I just felt awkward about. I mean, I didn't feel awkward. I just felt like, why should I go ask her about it? So I just didn't, and I never brought it up to New Girl. So I started talking to New Girl, and then my ex texted me about 3 to 4 weeks of me talking to the new girl already and going out on dates. And she was just like, hey, yeah, I don't know if you know, but that girl is a former client of mine, and she used to come get cut by me every other week for like the past 4 or 5 years. And I would talk to her about you all the time when we were dating. Um, and she was just like, it makes me very uncomfortable that you're talking, which I would is completely valid, because if my ex that I'm in love with went after any of my clients, I'd probably go off the deep end. So like,
Fair
but
enough.
I asked the new girl, and the new girl went and said, oh, I didn't get my hair cut by her a lot, I went to her only 3 or 4 times, I barely know her, I barely have ever talked to her, she never told me about you. So I went back to my ex, and I was like, she says she barely knows you. Um, you're saying that you knew her really well and that you hung out with her and she was a long-term client. And then my ex responded with, I think it's just best if we cut ties now. I'm going to block you, and that's that. So she blocked me. I started crashing out, going crazy that she blocked me. I found out later that she only blocked me for a day and then unblocked me, but I never reached out to her trying to make amends because I thought I was still blocked.
Correct.
So fast forward about 7 months, the girl I was with was the most evil, spiteful, crazy girl imaginable. Pretty much just used me for money. I was taking her out on dates consistently, all the time.
Mm.
And when my aunt started getting sick and going to the hospital, I was only able to go out to dinner maybe once a week.
Respectfully.
Because the restaurants, I was taking her to nice restaurants where the bill was like $300 to $400 a bill just for 2 people. And I was doing that like once a week.
Yeah.
Where before, when we first started, I was doing that like twice a week. Sometimes we go out to dinner even 3 times a week. But when my aunt got sick and I was paying for my aunt, and I'm still, keep in mind, I'm still paying off funeral debt, I noticed she started getting weird. And at the time, I was also taking her mom to physical therapy,
Mm.
picking up and taking her mom to the hospital because her mom got sick and all this stuff. And pretty much as time progressed, she started leaning back more. Things just started being weird. And then she pretty much decided that she wanted to take a break. And I was like, all right, fine, we could take a break. And then she asked me to hang out. And I was just like, no, we're not going to hang out anymore if we're on a break. And then she regretted breaking up with me. But
Mhm.
I was just like, if we're breaking up, it's over. We're done, pretty much.
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit. She ends up pretty much like ghosting me, deleting me off of everything because me and her got into a little altercation where she accidentally let slip that she knew my ex more than she let on. So I obviously wasn't okay with that. After she blocked me and everything, deleted everybody that I knew, all that, she started pretty much just posting about stuff like, could you believe that my ex would make me pay for my own hair and nails? A pretty girl like me having a job and having to work and pay for her own nails is ridiculous. My ex is such a loser, but at least I used him for all he was worth, yada yada, blah blah blah. And now I get to use the money I saved up in that time period to get breast implants. And now she's going to get her breast implants, yada, publicly like saying all this shit. Um, so that taught me a lesson, and I obviously reached out to my ex, apologizing, realizing what I just felt, what I just found out, and everything like that. Saying that I wish she never blocked me because I would have still tried to make amends. And if she would have told me that she was gonna block me if I stood talking to this girl, I would have cut her off from the beginning. I would have said, I'm not gonna talk to her anymore because I don't want to lose you as a friend. Because even though if I can't have you romantically, I still want you as a friend in my life. But in that moment, coming back to your first initial question, um, in that moment, I just realized how much of an idiot I was not to take my ex back when she came back after realizing she made a mistake after breaking up with me when my family died. And I just tried to get revenge on her because me and my ex, we were so perfect in the aspect of she was an entrepreneur. She has her own hair studio. She's a model. She has a Patreon where she does anime cosplay. Not OnlyFans, nothing nude. She does anime cosplay, and she has like over 100 subscribers paying like $30 to $50 a month. So that right there is a few thousand
Mm-hmm.
extra in her pocket. She
Mm-hmm.
does hair. She does hair privately. She's mainly a barber. Like she cuts men's cuts. Like really, she's good with the fade, good with the tape ups. Like with the way she cuts, you would think it was some black guy in the hood that gave this guy a cut because the cuts are that good, bro. Like everybody, all my I have to say it because like most of the time black barbers are the
True.
best.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
all of
yeah,
my
yeah.
black friends that whenever they see her haircuts, they're just like, no, a brother did that. No white girl did that. A brother did that cut. And I was like, no,
That's
that's my
hilarious.
girlfriend.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like they would literally always think that like a black man did the cut whenever I show them any of my ex-girlfriends like barbering cuts. So that just goes to show that she's good at what she does and she's sponsored by Redken. So regardless, she's an entrepreneur and she has the Patreon, the Instagram, the TikTok. She has like 90K on Instagram, 100K on TikTok,
Man.
so many followers on Patreon. She's grinding. She's done work out of country modeling, all this shit, and she's a hard worker. And now she started doing permanent makeup, which is tattooing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
tattoo eyebrows, you can tattoo facial
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hair. People shave off their eyebrows and permanently tattoo them
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She
yeah.
does the hair for the guys that go bald, tattooing
Yeah,
the hair
yeah,
up.
yeah,
So she
yeah.
does that on top of barbering, on top of modeling, and she's a hairstylist and has her tattooing license and her hairstyle license. So me and her worked really well. And I didn't realize it at the time when we first broke up. But now that I saw this new girl that I was with her, seeing how this new girl didn't understand me posting on social media, didn't understand me needing to work out or train, didn't understand me needing to take the time to video edit, didn't understand me needing to spend time watching self-improvement videos about growing on Instagram, TikTok, and all this social media stuff. She just thought it was bullshit, fooling around. I'm a loser. I'm spending so much time on the shit that doesn't matter. And when I come to see that, and that my ex-girlfriend was the same way as me with watching all the self-improvement content, always looking about the next way to make money in a moral way, like not selling herself, because she's hot. She's covered in tattoos, dark red dyed hair, amazing body. She's literally sexy in every avenue, but she never sold her body. She never did a sex tape. She never did OnlyFans. She's just killing it, modeling, and then making her money through tattooing, through hairstyling, barbering, all this stuff, all these different extra streams of income, and the anime cosplay. And she's a big anime fan, so she has that moral compass like you and me. So she sees all this, and I gave all of that up just to spite her because I didn't realize that I was the bad guy and being the bad guy when my family died. And now, after being with this toxic girl who I didn't realize was toxic till it was too late, I realized I should have listened to my ex when she warned me about her, but I didn't. But now that I noticed that finding somebody who can sync with you on all avenues mentally, spiritually, physically, it's something so rare. It's like a 0.00000.1% chance that it's possible to find somebody like that. And I think I had my chance and I blew it because I don't think I will ever find another human being that will be able to sync up with me on the same wavelengths. Like I could be with her, she could be working on her cosplay, working on watching hair videos, making cosplay stuff, working on her marketing and business stuff, and I could be doing the same thing in the same room without talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd be able to go right after we're both done. We'd be able to go and have sex, make dinner, and then watch a few episodes of anime and go to bed with each other, and then repeat and do the same process. Go to work, come home, see each other, work on our business, make food, watch anime, have sex, back to working on our business, all in the matter of the same time span. And that's something that's not many people can do because there'll always be that one-sidedness of somebody thinking what you're doing is stupid, or somebody thinking you're not spending quality time with them, or
Yes.
somebody thinking you're working too much, or even somebody thinking that you're not working enough or not liking what you do for work, that there's so much room for bickering. And I see it all the time where I only know two people right now that are in a successful, happy marriage that they genuinely enjoy. And one of them is my friend Zach, the
Mm-hmm.
one I told you about,
Mm-hmm.
Felons, who him and his girl were trauma bonded, but she's also an entrepreneur. And also my friend Alex, who's in the Bar Sharkz group chat too. His name is Resilient Calisthenics, and he has the wife who beat cancer. And he also had a large history with drugs when he was younger and overcame them. And
Right.
she overcame drugs too. So they both have that entrepreneur mindset. So I feel like unless you truly find somebody that's not only an entrepreneur and matches up and lines up with you in the business aspect, as well as also lines up with you in the personal interest and hobby mindset, it is going to be completely impossible for you as an entrepreneur to have a successful marriage or relationship with them unless they line up on not only one, but both of those aspects. It needs to be the entrepreneurial business as well as personal interest. Because if you only have one, there's going to be room for confrontation where they're not going to be on the same wavelength, and it's going to cause friction.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you like it or not, people can argue this, but it's going to cause friction. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody's a workaholic on their business, the other person who's not a workaholic on their business isn't going to understand in the same aspect. Or even if they're both entrepreneurs, if I like anime, self-improvement, and have this attachment to anime because of what I gain and learn from it and people's experiences and growing for that, if somebody hates anime, that means they hate the aspect of self-improvement that you could gain from it, or they're so shallow-minded that they can't look past the animation and the insight that you can get because it's a cartoon
Mm-hmm.
and just shows that they're closed-minded. That's going to transfer over and leak into the other opinions that they might have, which is going to cause that confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just finding one, but you need to find both avenues, the spiritual and personal interest aspect as well as the entrepreneurial aspect. I don't know any person in my life, both client and friend, that has had a successful marriage or relationship that didn't have both of those. And even when it comes to clients, I know people that have successful marriages, but when I'm with them one on one, when their spouse isn't with me, the wife is talking about how she can't stand their husband, or the husband is talking about how they can't stand their wife.
Yes. Yeah. So you feel like you had found your unicorn? She was your unicorn?
And I fucked up out of spite.
Eh, I I did too. I did the same. I've done the same. I did too. I did too. 2015. I think men on a journey and men on a journey to greatness unfortunately have to some degree experience that. So even if we don't find the exact unicorn again later down the line, if it's something close to and we're more established and we're more, where we want to be in life, we'll spot it that much faster. And
Yes.
there's a 9 out of 10 chance that we're going to immediately cherish it and honor it a lot better because we'll always have that sting in the back of the mind of the quote unquote one that got away. So that's just my personal thought on that because I try to hold out some hope that I'm not gonna be forever alone. Like this is true anime. I have to be forever alone and just meet people that'll love me, but I can't love them. It won't work. Like that's a
Would you rather be alone forever, or would you settle for 70% happy? Because I'd rather be alone.
I'd rather be
I
alone.
think, yeah, my quality of life would be better alone than settling for somebody that I'm there, but not fully.
I've settled
Like, I
before.
don't want that. I think that's worse than being alone.
No, I agree because I've settled before. And not only will you sacrifice parts of yourself, you'll slow down your own career's progress. You'll allow other people's seeds of doubt to be implanted into your garden. You'll allow other people's fear to be implanted into your mind because, like you said, y'all don't share realities. You don't share realities, and that's one thing about leading and following. If we're both walking, someone is setting a pace, period. There's always someone setting a pace. And if I have a pace that I'm comfortable with as I'm picking up speed and then I meet someone who I like, but then I realize they're not really moving on my pace, the worst thing, not the worst thing, one of the worst things you can do is to slow yourself down in the hopes that they're going to match your pace. Because without you realizing it, they were never going to match yours. You matched theirs. You matched theirs. And that's what it means when you settle for the 70%. Because 9 times out of 10, why would I push for the extra 30? I got you. I got you. So if you took me at 70, why would you want me to go to 100? I was never at 100. And that's where the fallacious part of us as men and women do the same thing. When you meet someone, you're like, I can fix them. I can make them better. They'll, nah.
See, I never had that. I don't like fixing. So I don't want my partner to gain, like, if they gain anything from me as an extra, that's fine. If they learn something from me, that's fine. But I've actually always very never understood, and I've always been turned off at the idea of me trying to help my partner improve. I
Yeah.
actually almost get disgusted if my partner tells me that I'm helping them improve too much, because then that'll make me less attracted. Like, I'm attracted to them being like a whole being on their own, like a dominant force without me. That's what made me attracted
I
to them.
respect that.
Like, yeah, like my ex Vanessa, I definitely learned some things from her, and she learned some things from me. But the things that she learned from me were outside of her avenue, and the things I learned from her were outside of my avenue. But we were both a dominant force in our own career paths. So there was nothing I could do to help make her career path better, and there was nothing she could do to help make my career path better. However, the benefit of being with each other and the positive emotions we experienced obviously motivated us both more to work harder.
Yeah.
And obviously, the positive dopamine, the serotonin we got from having the happiness with each other made us work harder. And also, like, if I'm teaching her about health stuff, that's going to make her feel healthier and make her more motivated for her own work because she's learning to be healthy
Yeah.
and have a healthier lifestyle, just the same way that her teaching me more about hair and hair care and how to take care of my hair make sure that I'm gonna lesser of a chance that I'm gonna go bald later down the road, which is gonna keep my mental health better because I won't be worried about going bald as much because I know how to properly take care of my hair better.
Mm-hmm.
So we both gained something from each other, but we weren't like benefiting to the point where it was changing our whole life because one of us was so much further ahead than the
Right.
other. Like, when I see people in relationships that one person really makes that other person so much of a better person,
Mm-hmm.
I get skeeved. I get skeeved. Like, I've been in a relationship years ago where I really liked this girl. She was kind of like an entrepreneur. I first started my business, been in business for like 3, 4 years. This girl just started her business. And every other day she was like, wow, you taught me this. Wow, you taught me this. Wow, I learned this from you. And it seemed like she was learning something new from me every day. And then it just got to the point where, what were you capable of before me? What was I initially attracted to you beforehand? And then I started noticing, like, I'm less attracted to you now. It seems like your life just keeps getting better just because you're learning something new from me every day. And like, there's nothing wrong with learning from your partner. I want to learn from my partner. I want them to learn from me, but not so much to the whole point where learning from me changed their entire life and entire structure of how they did something. And now it almost seems like they became me. And then that just got to the point where I was so skeeved that a year into the relationship, I was like, I can't do it.
Interesting.
I've like been completely turned off by you because it almost seems like you became me. Like they went from teaching dance and like choreography to teaching gymnastics. And that was too much of a close quarter thing. And then they started making videos to advertise the same way I did. And it was just like, it almost felt like I was watching an exact replica carbon copy of me, but in
You
female
feel like
form.
you
Where
were
like
creating competition for yourself almost?
no, I wouldn't feel like I was creating competition, but it almost felt like I created a daughter which skeeved me out
Ah,
because it's like you're supposed to be my romantic partner,
got you.
and I was looking at her as more of a kid, which sounds
No,
weird, but
no, no,
it's
I
like
get it. I get that.
yeah, 'cause she was treating me, and then also with certain things, she was treating me like I was her dad. Like the stuff she would complain about were so minuscule that it made me feel like I was a parent, like I
Hmm.
was having to parent her rather than being her boyfriend. It's like I'm your boyfriend, I'm not your parent.
I have that lived experience, unfortunately, so I can literally understand and relate. Yeah, no, one of the biggest turnoffs if we're in a relationship is I feel that shift from being your romantic partner to being a father figure. Fuck that. No. And I already actually have children, so that triple skeeves me the fuck out because it's like I have real children. Why the fuck would I want the adult to now act as a child?
Yep.
No, 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 no. So yeah, I can agree with that. I can definitely see that I've even been in that same position. And yeah, no, yeah, I concur. That's not a good place to be.
And a lot of people, they some people I know like that type shit,
Yeah,
and it's like
yeah.
and that's fine, do you, whatever. Everybody has different things, but like I'm sure for the same could be said for you, like because of your entrepreneur spirit and the dominant force you are. I personally, me knowing from what I know about you and from speaking to you the times we've spoken these long ass
Mhm.
conversations, I feel like you need also a female who's gonna match your energy, and I feel like you wouldn't do good, and I couldn't see yourself doing good with a trad wife, like a typical I'm gonna stay home and just cook and clean and then
Look,
welcome you back to the house.
I meal prep, I clean, I deep clean. So yeah,
Same.
no woman can even sell me on that part because I already do all of that. I'm extremely self sufficient. I
Yeah.
meal prep and all. Like what I put people on diet plans. So you gotta
I like
definitely
cooking
bring
for
it to
my
the table.
girl.
Right. Like I cook for my women, like 100%. Yeah, I mean, like they love it. I see that we are coming up on the 4 hour mark, and IG is gonna boot me. They literally boot me when we hit 4 hours. So I want to get any closing statements that you have. Any links you could verbally drop them now. I'm gonna get the links from you to make sure that they all go into the subject of the full length on YouTube. This is going to be a long one. It's going to be a real good one, though. I might even put a couple dollars behind it to promote it on YouTube, just because I do want this to reach an audience. And that's another thing, just free game for all. Don't be afraid to run ads, specifically and especially if you have service and you have merchandise. You don't have to break the bank. I always recommend start with $5 to $10 so you can start getting some data. And then month two, maybe month three, spend a
You think
550.
ads affect? So I used to do a lot of Instagram ads and had a lot of success with them, but I haven't done any recently on Instagram because I was told that it affects your organic reach if you do them on Instagram. Is that true or no?
Were you using Facebook Ad Manager?
Yes.
Then no, it's not going to affect your reach. As long as you're not hitting that weird button on IG that says boost your post, that's a fucking rip and that will fuck you up. But if you're running ads and you have a service or product attached to it, and then you have regular talking point content or like action content, that they're not one and the same. And
So never, I should tell people to never do the boost then. Never
yeah,
do
if
the
you actually give a fuck
boost on
about them, yeah.
IG.
If you give a fuck about them and you want to see them actually get like some real results, yeah, don't waste your money and or time on boosting your post. No, you have to. go through Facebook Ad Manager. You have to actually create your own ad set. You 9 times out of 10 want to A/B it, run 2 sets of A/B sets so you can actually get some real data back, and then key into your data, because that's literally what I, as an ad manager and a brand manager, get paid to do. It's to literally sit there and run their back channels to be able to say to them, this is your demographic. This is where you're getting maximum exposure. This is the age group that's fucking with you. And this is where you might want to spend a little bit more time, effort, and money, because it's going to help you to get maximum exposure and you're going to be more efficient and effective with your posting. So once that information comes in, as a business owner, you literally it's called hedging your bets. You just hedged your bets.
Real quick for YouTube, because I was probably you can't upload long shorts like this. This has to be done as a regular video, right?
So the longest short you can upload on YouTube is 3 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
So I was thinking, because I wanted to upload a form of this too, but I was thinking I'm gonna see if so it's not vertical. I was gonna take both of our images
yeah,
and put them side by side next to each other and
you could
probably edit them.
you could do that, but if you're doing it for shorts, it's better to just keep it in this format. The
Yeah, if I'm
the
doing shorts, I was
916.
talking about for like a horizontal long form, and I would have clips of this for
Well,
shorts.
so for the long form, I'm gonna do it on the YouTube channel the way that I showed you, the one that I sent you. Reason being, if you clip this and then expand it, the visual is gonna lose resolution and it's not gonna look as
Oh,
clear
okay.
as it is right now. Which is why you saw me put like my little picture on the side. So that's why I wanted you to send me a picture, because on
Gotcha.
this one is gonna be me on one side, you on one side. And then it'll be able to maintain the resolution. And then when we drop shorts, you can actually put the link to the video, like this video is a piece of this. So it literally helps to boost traffic. And that's a little trick as well. We're on a 15-second countdown because IG is going to kick me out. Is there anything you
Yeah.
want to say?
You can follow me at Peter V Dragon on Instagram, youtube.com/Bar Sharkz on Instagram, bar_sharks. That's all my social